I honestly think he did a good job answering his own question, because I mean, these three he's put in his thumbnail are already pretty good to start with. We got Tucker Carlson, we got Marjorie Taylor Greene, and we've got Rand Paul. If you don't know who Rand Paul is, you probably know who Mitch McConnell is. He's a senator for Kentucky. Rand Paul is the other senator for Kentucky. Now, I don't think it's fair to group Rand Paul in with these other two, but, you know, I would have put someone like Mitch McConnell or... I mean, Trump's already been banned, so I guess we can't... I mean, we could do that again. That would be fine with me. But, you know... I just think he knows who we want to ban next because the Mr. Purple and Mrs. Green over here are the Mr. and Mrs. White supremacists. So, yes, please, if these three people, or if at least those two people disappeared from existence, I do genuinely believe the world would be a better place. Genuinely. Like, with my entire soul, I believe that. Without the two of them here, the world would be better. So, I think he did a good job answering that question. We're not going to watch this video either, because again, nothing fucking happens. Tucker Carlson hasn't been silenced. He has a primetime slot on Fox News that gets millions of views every day. He's not being silenced. He's just he should be, in my opinion. He should be silenced because he spreads hateful messaging to idiotic people, and by hateful, I mean racist, transphobic, homophobic, bigoted, and white supremacist, neo-Nazi propaganda. So, not great. If you don't believe me, go ask the leader of the KKK what they watch at night, because they watch Tucker Carlson for fun, and then they rewatch it to learn what he's saying and take it in and add it to the things that they think and believe. So, not great. Again, if he disappeared off the face of the earth, I wouldn't be complaining. If anything, I would be celebrating. And then we're gonna start with this one. Woke Californians want to ban the Bible for hate speech.
Just how far is the left's censorship going to go? Will Americans sign a petition to ban the Bible?
I would. Okay, next video. Ban the... What does that even mean, ban the Bible? Like, ban it from where? Like, existence? Or from schools? Because we've already taken it out of the schools, and I think that's good enough. What does he mean by ban the Bible? What... So much hate in you. I mean, yeah. Sign a petition to ban... What does that mean? Ban the Bible from where? What do you mean? He doesn't go into any more detail. I promise you he doesn't. Explain. Ban from where? Where are we banning it from? From the entirety of the United States? From California alone? Just California? Just banning it in California? Like how they like to ban certain... Like how they like to ban To Kill a Mockingbird and shit like that? Like, is that what we're talking about? Like, he doesn't explain. For hate speech, Lamau. If anything, we should ban it for graphic content, because that's just graphic as hell. But, you know.
Just how far is the left...
Shut up. No one wants to talk to you.
There's a clip going around this week of it.
Okay. We all know how much the conservatives hate drag queens for some reason. I don't know about you, but I would trust my child of any age with a room full of drag queens before I would trust them with this man, okay? I would feel so much safer putting my child in the hands of a drag queen than this man right here, okay? I need you to understand this. I don't know why they're so afraid of drag queens. It's just men putting on lady clothes and dancing around on a stage and lip syncing to music. It's not harmful. It's not hurtful. It's not anything. It's just fun, okay? Like, I will never understand why these people hate drag queens so much. Like, what did drag queens ever do to you? Like, what did they ever do to you? I'm genuinely curious and would love an answer to my question. Twitch, fuck off. I'm not spending money on you. Go away. Get out. Sorry, they sent me the same notification they sent me on here earlier on my phone. Okay, what's he got to say?
Special. That's their streaming service about drag queens that's aimed at children as young as 5 years old.
Oh no, not the children.
The special has been on Disney Plus for a year now. Some normal
Gasp.
parent stumbled across it and recorded it, shared it on social media.
Some normal parent? What is that supposed to? What is a normal parent? Have you ever met a normal parent? I haven't. What is a normal parent? As you know, it's too over the top for me, so I imagine people just hate on it because they don't like it. Yeah, I get it. Drag shows aren't for everyone. They're not meant to be for everybody. Like, everyone is welcome, but not everyone is gonna vibe, you know what I mean? Like, personally, the drag show we went to for Pride wasn't very exciting for me. But the one we went to back in Bowling Green several years ago was so much fucking fun, and I had a great time. Drag shows are going to be different too, because it's not always the same drag queens or drag kings, so it's going to be different every time you go, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone likes all the songs that are chosen. Not everyone likes the idea of standing out in the hot ass heat watching people dance around and sing to fucking music, you know what I mean? Like, it's not for everyone, but it's there if you want it, you know what I mean? Like, drag shows are open to everybody, but they won't be for everybody, if that makes any sense. Doubling down on their Marxist agenda. I'm convinced these people don't know what Marxism is. I'm convinced they don't know Marxism. What do drag queens have to do with Marxism? What do drag queens have to do with Marxism? I don't... Is he going to explain?
To show the rest of society what it is that Disney is trying to get children to watch.
Hello, and welcome to the Disney Plus.
Trying to get children to watch. Last I checked, this isn't what auto plays when you open Disney Plus. You have to click on it. You have to click on it. Hey Nico, a friendly hello from the mailroom warrior, destroying those who keep me from delivering packages and mail with paper cuts. Hoping you're having a wonderful stream, my dude. Sounds like fun. Honestly, mailrooms sound like a lot of fun for my ADHD brain. Lots going on, lots to do. Sounds like a lot of fun, to be completely honest with you. Thank you for popping in. I don't know if you'll be able to stick around or not, but I appreciate you popping in to say hello. I don't know if I'll be live when you get off work or not, but if I am, feel free to come back. Thank you. I appreciate you. I love you.
This is me, Pride Celebration Spectacular. I'm Nina West, and I'm here to guide you through a magical, musical, and meaningful...
Also, kids do drag all the time. Drag is just an exaggerated form of dress up. That's what it is. It's dress up to the max. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's literally all it is. And kids play dress up and make believe all the time. Also, have you seen the amount of work that goes into drag? Like, these people make their own wigs, their own dresses. They come up with their own dance routines. Like, they do all of this work themselves. And the fact that people see the promotion of this kind of artwork as a bad thing is really weird, because all they're doing is encouraging kids to be themselves and, like, be creative. Like, isn't that what we're supposed to encourage kids to do, is be themselves and be creative? Like, isn't that kind of the whole point? You know, like...
celebration of the LGBTQ plus community.
Yee.
GLSEN's mission is to create safe and inclusive schools for LGBTQ plus students in
Important.
grades K through 12. And Disney Plus is so proud to support this wonderful organization.
I'm sorry to have to subject you to that, but you need to see what Disney...
Subject me to what?
Years ago, it was just...
Subjecting to what do you mean? Subject me to what? People talking? You're subjecting me to your ugly face. I can put up with some drag queens. The fuck?
the Marxist YouTube channels like BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, and others, but now...
You just called BuzzFeed Marxist. That's so funny.
It's Disney. Good news is, I guess parents are finally waking up to this. I mean, how could you not? Their leftists are beating everybody over the head with it. Of course, years ago, it's...
How are we beating you over the head with it? This is an optional thing you can click on Disney Plus. No one is forcing you to watch this, except you right now, forcing us to watch this. Like, and it's not even forcing. I chose to click on your dumbass video and watch it. It's like I said, it's not like this is what plays when you open Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like, you have to find it and click on it. This has been out since May 27th. I didn't know this drag queen special was a thing until you told me about it. And I am on Disney Plus every other day. And I am hella LGBT, okay? Like, they're clearly not pushing it very hard, because I hadn't heard about it until this video. So, full of shit.
Started slowly and incrementally, and now it's just a full-blown tsunami. This year...
Also, this guy's clearly never watched Bugs Bunny. I know that's not Disney, but he's clearly never watched Bugs Bunny. Because I've never seen a character more genderqueer in my life, okay?
2022 is the tipping point. Everyone has seen or heard what the liberals are doing to the children because they're so brazen and out in the open and proud of it. The backlash and mass cancellations of State Farm Insurance earlier this week after they were exposed funding gender-bending books to elementary school kids is a good sign. So keep the phone...
What is a gender-bending book? Is that like a water-bending book? Does it like teach you how to water-bend, but with genders? Like, what is a gender-bending book? What does that mean? Books don't change your gender. That's not how anything works. Books don't change your gender. What is a gender-bending book? What kind of magical, mystical power is that?
Calls and cancellations coming. And by the way, that's not cancel culture. That's just boycotting a company and not giving...
Oh, but you just called it canceled. So, oh, it's not cancel culture. It's boycotting. It's boycotting when we do it. But when we boycott something, if you're being homophobic or transphobic or racist, suddenly it's cancel culture. Oh, okay. I see how it is.
Giving them your money. Cancel culture would be if they tried to get their license taken away so that they couldn't sell insurance to anybody who even wanted to.
No one's doing that.
And you know what?
Can you imagine trying to get State Farm, one of the biggest insurance companies in the country, to stop being an insurance company? That's literally impossible. Like, that's not a thing we as a people can do. This man is talking in hypotheticals.
Maybe it's time that we start fighting fire with fire and giving the left a taste of their own medicine.
Ooh,
Conservatives
medicine.
and Christians have been way too cowardly for way too long, and it's time to stop
Have
playing
they?
so nice. Where was the out?
Have they? Can we hear that
We
again?
start fighting fire with fire and giving the left a taste of their own medicine. Conservatives and Christians have been way too cowardly for way too long.
Have they? Have they? Because last I checked, they just got Roe v. Wade overturned. So, after the long con, a 50-year long con. So, have they? You can't say they have been since Trump got into office. Huh? Maybe before that. Definitely not since Trump got into office. I ain't heard them shut the fuck up since Trump got into office. So, I don't know where he's been, but...
It's time to stop playing so nice. Where was the outrage last year when the Kraft Peanut Butter Company published a book for children aimed at teaching them about gender non-binary pronouns and then hired a couple of drag...
Oh no, children might learn pronouns. You mean the thing they teach them in school? They teach pronouns in school, you know. That's part of English class.
queens read the book at Drag Queen Storia. There's a 1-800 number printed on the side of every Kraft peanut butter jar, and every food product, by the way, that you can call and get a hold of a customer service representative right away.
Don't go yelling at customer service representatives. Leave them alone.
20 years ago, when I was a broke college kid, I made it a habit of calling
We get it. You're old.
the customer service phone number for products that I wasn't happy with, because that's what it says right there on the package. Are you satisfied? Call us and tell us if not. So I would call them and tell them that there wasn't enough pepperoni on the pizza or that there weren't enough marshmallows in my Lucky Charms.
So you're a whiny complainer. Seems nothing has changed. I'm convinced.
Do you have any fours? Daffy, we're playing chess. Ah. Was it Colonel Snow in the pantry with a candlestick? Do you even know how to play chess? Of course I do. Jen! We're gonna be late for the movie.
Yeah, no, married couple. I see it. It's a long video. I don't have the... I know. For kids... I roll. I love for kids. I roll. I love that. Which scene? The next scene? This one? How are they... Why, YouTube? Why did you mark this as a kids thing? I want comments. I want to see the comments. I don't remember hearing any outrage over this. Do you?
Guess what? They wouldn't just listen. They sent me free coupons for free food. I ate like a king. I even got coupons for free beer because I called them up and I told them that it tasted skunky. Because if there's one thing that a food company doesn't want, is to lose a customer from buying their product every week for the rest of their life. What kind of a society allows drag queens, let alone sponsors them from Fortune 500 companies like Kraft and Disney, to indoctrinate children into their way of life? Sodom and Gomorrah, that's where. Sadly, it's not just Disney, it's also kids.
I will never get over the irony of Christians talking about indoctrination and how awful indoctrination is. I will never get over it. Ever. Ever. Head to toe and sweat. I love that for you. Why does ZK have to be so humid? I feel that. I do. I feel it. I feel it in my soul. It's only 75 out today at the moment, which I don't believe. Is that true? No, it's 93 out today. I don't know why my computer one is wrong. My computer one says it's 73 out today. That's inaccurate. My phone says it's 93. So that's correct. It's been in the 90s all week. So I just, the irony of the indoctrination of our children. Oh, I can't indoctrinate them into what I believe. How dare you indoctrinate children into tolerance and acceptance of people who aren't like them? Ah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, that's where. Sadly, it's not just Disney, it's also Nickelodeon. It's everywhere. This is Blues
These people also don't know what the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is, but we all already knew that.
Clues. You've probably seen this. This is a kid's cartoon. Again, trying to indoctrinate them with drag queens. Nickelodeon, by the way, is owned by Paramount Studios.
Showing someone something is not the same as indoctrinating them. It is not the same thing. Showing someone a pride flag is not indoctrinating them to be gay. Like, that's not how anything works. Oh my god, it doesn't even fit the actual definition of indoctrination. That's kind of funny. The definition of indoctrination is simply teaching, but it's the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. Putting pride flags and Blue's Clues isn't telling kids to accept it. It's just showing kids that it's there. Also, look how much it's increased in the past 100 years, huh? Whatever.
Studios, which also has a telephone number you can Google, by the way. If Disney or Nickelodeon or any major children's brand would have done this during the Obama administration, even as far left as he was pushing society, it would have caused a national outrage.
Imagine thinking Obama was pushing things left. That's so laughable. Maybe for here, maybe for America, he was pushing things left. But for anywhere else, Obama is a hella centrist, if that. These people would not survive in other first world countries. They would be so astounded by the Marxism of other countries.
But now people just accept this as normal. Now they're not just demanding that people use their preferred pronouns. They're demanding that you date them.
So
preferred pronouns? No, it's just pronouns. It's just, these are my pronouns. Just call me what I am. Thanks.
if you say that you like women and you like BJ, then that would mean that you're attracted to cis women and trans women who have had bottom surgery. It is just that exclusion that makes it transphobic. You can have a genital preference.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna let them finish first.
But to exclude trans people is transphobic.
This slippery slope.
Yeah, it's a matter of saying you are attracted to women includes trans women. Not wanting to have sex with a trans woman because she still has a penis is not transphobic. It is not transphobic to say, I don't want to have sex with you because you have a dick. Or because you don't have a dick. That is completely understandable and acceptable. But to completely throw trans women out of your pool of options for dating women when you are attracted to women is transphobic. Because trans women are in fact women, and most of the time, you can't tell when a trans woman is a trans woman until you get her pants off. So, you know, like, if you don't want to date trans people, I promise you, they don't want to date you back. Like, no one wants to date someone who hates them. Like, that's not a thing. Let teachers choose your kid's gender. No one's teachers using their kid's gender. Also, you want to know how I know that their ideology is outdated? Because they're using these kinds of memes. This is just so 2006. 2006 to 2012. Like, y'all, get some new memes, okay? Yeah, did they get this off 4chan? Genuinely. Allow minors to dance for us in drag. You already... Sorry, I just got triggered. Allow minors to dance for us in drag. Have you been to a dance competition? A child's beauty pageant? Have you seen toddlers in tiaras? That's okay, but kids dressing up in drag isn't. What's the difference? What's the difference? What is the difference? What's the difference? Have you seen the amount of makeup parents put on their kids for beauty pageants? It's equivalent to the amount of drag makeup drag performers put on, if not more. And then they have these kids dance around and prance around and get judged about how pretty they are by grown men. And that's fine. And not predatory and not grooming and not gross and not disgusting. But showing kids that drag is the thing that people do and that it's okay to want to do it is suddenly bad. What? Drag is entirely voluntary. You can't force someone into drag. That's not how life works. I don't understand these people. I don't get it.
Slope meme illustrates perfectly what's happening. First, all they wanted...
I'm sorry, what meme?
Is transphobic.
This slippery slope meme illustrates perfectly what's happening. First, all they wanted was the right to get married, they said, and change the definition of marriage, and then...
Those were the gays. The gays wanted to be able to get married. The gays. Just the gays. And the lesbians. The homosexuals wanted to be able to get married. That wasn't part of trans rights. That was part of gay rights. There are other people in the group that still don't have rights.
And they forced bakers to bake special cakes for them, and now they're forcing people to...
Oh, they forced bakers to bake cakes for them? Oh no, what will the bakers do? Make money. They'll make money. I don't understand.
use their pronouns, otherwise you get suspended from school or fired from your job.
That's never happened. That has never happened. No one has ever been fired for misgendering someone once or twice. You only get fired from your job for misgendering someone when it turns into harassment. I've been misgendered at my job loads of times, but it was never done maliciously, so it wasn't a problem. I corrected them, I moved on. It's only when it's done maliciously that it's a problem. And that's the only time anyone has ever lost their job or been demoted or anything like that for not using the correct pronouns, is when they do it over and over and over again maliciously to the point that it classifies as harassment.
Kicked off of social media, then they want minors to dance and drag.
Also, I've not seen anyone say anything about wanting kids to wear drag. I personally haven't seen that anywhere. Except here. I haven't seen anyone being like, we should make minors do drag too. Like, I've not seen that. Like, I've seen some minors who are like 16 or something, like, decide they want to do drag and try drag and have fun in drag, but I've not seen anyone pushing for minors to wear drag. Also, how are these memes any less bad than, like, cartoons where black people were drawn with massive lips? Like, how is this any worse or better than that? Because that's what these look like to me, are hateful caricatures and stereotypes of trans people. Except they don't even look like any of the trans people I know, but that's besides the point.
And now they want teachers to choose your kid's gender.
No one has ever said
The end of the
that.
school year is here. Summer's just around the corner, but get ready to
No one has ever said that. No one's allowed to trans your kid's gender but me, okay? Get your mind straight.
take back the school board in the fall. Get to know your kids' teachers. Find out what the curriculum is. Follow them on social media. Do some research on them and find out exactly what it is that they're teaching your kids.
It is not your job as a parent to decide what your kids learn in school. That is not your job. You can teach them what you wish at home, but you don't get to choose what they learn at school. You don't have the education to do that. So fuck off. Thank you. And yes, I know our education system is garbage, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
And go Ultra MAGA. And order your Ultra MAGA shirt from my online store at markdice.com or click the link in the description.
Oh, the cringe is so strong. Do I want to read the comments? I don't really know. I don't know if I want to. For being a brave person. Dudes wearing wedding dress is not something to normalize and celebrate. It's called dress up. Language tricks. I love transphobes getting triggered by the word transphobes. I'm not scared of them. Clearly you are, because you won't shut up about it. Clearly you are. Because you won't shut up about it. Okay, we're going to skim through a couple of these. Let's start with these two. So, think before you sleep. I don't want to watch all of these in their entirety, because the guy's voice is painful to listen to. This one here, we watched this original video that they're going to be talking about here. It was the liberal teens versus conservative parents video that we watched a while ago. And this person is talking about that video. This one is them talking about Hannah Gadsby for some reason. I don't know what Hannah Gadsby ever did to you, but alright. And how they aren't funny. Hannah Gadsby is hilarious, but okay, whatever. But first we're going to start with idiocies like how puberty blockers are child abuse apparently, and how the radical left teaches kids racism. We should teach kids racism. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't even know what this means. How the radical left teaches racism to kids? We should teach kids what racism is so they know not to do it. And they know what it is, and they know how to spot it. We're not teaching kids to be racist or that they are racist. We're just teaching them that racism exists and that it's bad. And how is that a bad thing? To teach kids that racism is real and bad? I don't understand. Also, I don't even know if I should entertain this video because puberty blockers aren't child abuse and don't cause any harm to your kid. They've been used on cis kids for like 100 goddamn years and everything's been fine. So, you know. No, hormone blockers do not have an effect on fertility. At least not one that is like high enough of a percentage that it happens. False. My son told me he was a piece of bread, so I put him in the toaster. Oh my god, you're so funny and original. Transphobes only have 3 fucking...
Reaction when people hear that we have 2 trans kids is pretty shock and awe. Olivia said she was transgender from the age of 4 until 5. She didn't socially transition until she was 5 years old and entering kindergarten. When James was 8 years old, he asked to transition, which meant social transition. He just now, a month ago, started hormone blockers.
Hormone blockers.
Oh no.
11 years old. You think it's a good parenting choice to allow an 11-year-old to make a permanent decision like that?
It's not a permanent decision. You're already wrong. Hormone blockers are not a permanent decision. They are a temporary solution. That's what hormone blockers are. If you don't believe me, go ask any little girl who started her period at 6 to 8 years old. I guarantee you that little girl started puberty blockers because that is too young to start your period and can cause lots of health issues to start it that early.
A decision that, by the way, will make him infertile when he grows up?
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Does this guy think that the boy is a cis boy? Because down here he mentions, I was referring to testosterone. Oh, and then have him go infertile by giving him testosterone. Okay. He's aware that the boy is not cis and that the girl is also not cis. Okay, cool. Well, just making sure because transphobes get confused sometimes.
And he is counting down the days until he...
Also, testosterone doesn't make you infertile. It can make you infertile. I've been on testosterone for almost 2 years. It is possible that my eggs are now unusable. It is possible, but there are plenty of trans men who have been on testosterone for like 6 years who choose to get pregnant and therefore carry a child to term, and that child comes out completely healthy and fine. So, can we make more cis boys infertile, please? Now, for trans women, estrogen does more often than for trans men make them infertile because it lowers their sperm count, and that is what infertility is. It's a low sperm count. For people with penises, a infertility means low sperm count. So it's far more common for trans women to become infertile than it is for trans men to become infertile. It's not impossible for trans women to get someone pregnant after they start estrogen and are on estrogen for a while. It's still absolutely a possibility because they still produce some sperm, but it's far less likely than obviously prior to estrogen and prior to those hormone levels changing. But this child here is on hormone blockers, not testosterone. Hormone blockers do not make you infertile. All hormone blockers do is block that part of your brain that the switch in your brain that turns on at puberty that floods your body with whichever sex hormone you are predestined to have. It stops that from happening and delays it until an appropriate time. That is all hormone blockers do. That is it. The side effects are so beyond minimal that the good outweighs the bad by so much, it's almost invisible, the negative side effects that can happen. None that do, but some can happen, because that's how all medication works. There's always some potential negative side effect that could occur. So that's true for every medication. But I love transphobes talking about puberty blockers like they're things only trans kids use, when there are so many cis people out there who are on puberty blockers because they started their puberty way too early. I think it's more common for little girls to start puberty blockers because it's more common for girls to start their puberties earlier than I think boys. I don't know that for sure. Don't quote me on that. But I've heard from more cis women who were on puberty blockers than I have from cis men. So, it's not healthy for a little girl to start her period at age 6. So that's what puberty blockers were actually created for. They were created for cis kids to help them grow and mature more correctly and more healthily, and to also not be socially ostracized for starting their puberty like 6 years before everybody else.
Can start testosterone, which would be the first time something permanent would be happening, because at that point it would affect fertility.
If you use a blocker and go on to testosterone, your eggs would never mature.
Mm-hmm.
Well then, while you're at it...
Which is something we, as trans men, understand when we go into it. It is something they drill into your head, that it is possible you could become infertile. Possible, not guaranteed. As I said, there are plenty of trans men out there who have biological babies. There's plenty of them who do that. I came across a couple the other day, actually. Two trans men, not a couple together, but 2 trans men. That one who had just had his baby, and then one of the comments was like, "Oh, I'm doing a month," So it's very, especially if you go off testosterone, your fertility can sometimes come back. So but I'm sure there are some where they are infertile for the rest of their lives after being on testosterone for a month. And for most trans men, not a big deal, because most the trans men who are concerned about that and want to have a biological child in the future will generally freeze their eggs if they can afford to. If that's something that person genuinely wants and doesn't want to carry that child or doesn't want to risk the possibility of becoming infertile, they will have their eggs frozen for the future. Like, that is a simple solution to the, oh no, what if I become infertile option? But so many of us don't give a shit. So, like, personally, I don't care. I don't have any desire to pass on my genetics to anybody else, even though I do have pretty decent genetics, to be completely fair. I have no desire to carry a child, and I have no desire to make a biological child. So for me, testosterone making me infertile, not an issue. Maybe it is for this guy. I don't know. He's 11. What does he know? You know, like, you know, but at the same time, I guarantee you, most trans men, most, not all, the majority of trans men don't have any desire to carry a child inside of them. Not all, but most. The world does not need a mini Nico. I wouldn't mind having kids, but I don't personally want to create the kids myself, if that makes any sense. Like, if I had sperm to contribute to that creation of a child, sure, but growing one inside of me, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I live in Tennessee. If I, by some miracle from God, or actually curse from God, had some sort of Mother Mary situation and ended up pregnant before we left Tennessee, my ass would be dead in a ditch somewhere. I ain't giving birth to no kids. Nah. You want the child to suffer like you do, right? Why would I bring a child into this shitty ass world? Why the fuck would I do that? You know what I mean? Wanted to go through thing inside of you sounds absolutely nasty. 100%. And I think it's so telling that that's never something I ever thought about as a kid. Like, I was never like, oh my god, I can have babies? That's so cool. Like, that was never a thing that I thought of. Even once I learned that that's something my body could do, I was never like, oh, that's so cool, I want to do that. That was never a thought that crossed my mind. Not even in, like, a entertaining the idea kind of way. It was always like a, oh, I can't wait to adopt kids in the future. Always. That was always my plan. Always. And I think that's so telling. Should have been a red flag. I mean, to be completely honest with you, the flag was waving, you know what I mean?
Why not just get him a sleeve tattoo? Oh wait, that would be illegal. And it's illegal
not the same
for
thing.
a reason. Now, it's one thing if your 11-year-old wants to say he's gay or he wants to dress up and act like the opposite gender. You can always...
He wants to say he's gay? Also, are you about to say that they're going to put their 11-year-old on testosterone?
change your mind if that's the case. But to give them a medication that will permanently sterilize them and quite possibly make it extremely difficult to function sexually when they are adults is wrong.
You better not be talking about puberty blockers there, because everything you just said is factually incorrect. I consider baby fever a mental illness. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've experienced baby fever to a degree before, but again, never in the way of like, oh my god, I want to get pregnant, you know, like I've never experienced that. I've experienced the like seeing someone else's kid and be like, oh, that'd be so fun to have, you know, like to be able to raise a kid, you know, like there's that part of me that kind of wants to do that at some point, but none of that part of me or any other part of me wants to be the person that creates the child. I do not want that in my life. I have no desire to hold any human inside of me for any period of time in any capacity. That includes penises, and that includes growing a human in its entirety. I don't want any human inside of me. No thank you, get out, you know. I went for my depot appointment the other day, and they asked me if I wanted a pap smear, and I said absolutely the fuck not. Please get out of my room, thank you. It's not a female brain wiring. There are plenty of men out there who want kids, but I never thought a baby was cute. Babies, no. It's never babies. It's always like the 3 to 5 year olds that are like in that phase of their life where they're like starting to understand things and do cute shit sometimes, you know. But obviously then they turn around and vomit on the floor or something like that. But that's what you get when you have kids. But like Max and I have discussed like dating options and stuff like that. Like who would we be interested in dating? Obviously we're both attracted to women, but like, and neither of us would be opposed to dating trans women in any capacity. Obviously, have you seen trans women? They're fucking gorgeous. But Max is one that woman already having kids would be a negative for them. Whereas for me, if most of the dating pool at our age have kids already. a very large capacity of women in our age range of like 22 to 27 have a kid or kids already. Personally, for me, that is not a downside for me. Personally, if that woman wanted kids, she's got them already. I don't have to provide them for her because that's something I can't do. So I can't give her children biologically. So if she's already got her own biological children, we can check that off the list of things to worry about. You know what I mean? Whereas if I date a woman who does want biological kids in the future, that's going to be a whole bunch of money that we have to spend to get that done because I can't give her no sperm. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a downside to me. Like, it's not like, ew, you have kids, I'm not going to date you, gross. Like, you know what I mean? If it's, now, if it's someone who's 22 and has 6 children, and they aren't twins or triplets or anything like that, I'm sorry, that's a no for me. You clearly like to have sex a lot, and that we ain't gonna vibe on that facet, you know what I mean? I'll probably have to tolerate a pre-existing tiny human because girls all choose to be hoes at like 18 apparently. you know, teen pregnancies run rampant in this United States. But it's not like, you know, like, it's not a downside for me, you know? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, I don't want the contention of, oh, I want biological children to be an issue for me and my partner in the future. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that to be a thing that's like, oh, but I want biological children, and maybe like, well, hun, I can't give you that. I'm sorry, you have a vagina, I have a vagina, I can't give you that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, the best we can do is scoop some of my eggs out and hope they implant into your uterus, and then we still have to find a sperm donor, you know what I mean? You know, like, I can't donate the sperm to you, so, if they've already got bio kids, then, you know, no issues. Now, if the person that I'm dating doesn't have kids, but wants to adopt children, absolutely down for that. That's always been my ideal, you know, if I end up with kids, it'll be via adoption. That was before I knew I was a dude. And now the viable ways of getting kids for me is adoption or finding a girl who's already got kids, you know what I mean? So to me, it's not a downside. There is a procedure to cut up your DNA, but it's still experimental. Yes, it's still in the very, very early stages. Maybe by the time that I'm old enough that I want kids, maybe it'll be more developed and along, but I don't see that being a thing for another good 20, 30 years. And I don't know if I'm going to want kids 20, 30 years from now at 50 years old. You know what I mean? Like, you know.
Even the tattoo example is not as severe because at least those can be removed after some considerable effort. What I find strange, though, is that there is all this social support for giving children medication that will sterilize them, but if you are a woman who doesn't want children, it's almost impossible to get a doctor to sterilize you, even in your 20s.
Those aren't competing beliefs. Those aren't competing things. Giving trans kids puberty blockers until they're old enough to start hormones is not in any way comparable to the fact that women can't get sterilized when they want to be sterilized. Those things are not pushed by the same side. Those are opposing sides. Infertility is simply a side effect of transitioning. That's it. It's simply a side effect of living your true authentic life. It is a side effect that all trans people have to accept as a possibility, or for some of us, a guarantee. And that's just part of life. There are plenty of other medications as kids that can make you sterile. I took Adderall for a good half of my childhood, and it has affected my ability to function correctly in a sexual manner. I'm not going to go into more detail than that because it's none of your fucking business. But Adderall, which is something we give lots of kids, can affect your sexual ability to function in a load of ways, not just in like a infertility way. There are loads of side effects that come from that they don't fucking tell you about when you're a kid. But I don't see anyone having any uproars about depression medication, bipolar medication, ADHD medication that can cause the same problems. But we want to load kids up with Adderall because they all have ADHD and they're all too hyper. But when it comes to trans kids, suddenly it's a fucking problem. And I also don't understand how, other than the infertility relation, which is a very long string, how anything trans people do is related to women not being able to get sterilized when they want to be. Those things are not related in any capacity. At all. At all. The only thing that brings them together is the fact that people like this don't like the fact that trans kids can access hormones at the appropriate age. You know? Women getting sterilized is a whole thing. It's a whole thing all on its own. White women struggle to get sterilized. all the time. I've talked to plenty of trans women in like comment sections, and I've read people's stories about how it took them. They've been actively trying to get their tubes tied for 6 years, and their husband got a vasectomy in a week. And then you hear from black women or other women of color who were forcefully sterilized against their will and didn't know that they'd been sterilized until later down the line when they were trying to get pregnant. So that is a whole issue all on its own. And you trying to bring it into trans people is not okay and not relevant. There are plenty of trans people who would like to be sterilized. I am one of those people. I would absolutely love to eat my uterus tomorrow. If someone called me up and say, hey, we'll take your uterus for free, I would be there tomorrow. I don't even care if it's in the back of an alley. Come take it out of me. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like, getting sterilized is something a lot of trans people generally want. Not always, but there's a lot of us that do. And in that, like, a lot of trans men want to get their uteruses out of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. A lot of trans women want their penises gone. Not all of them, but a lot of them. You know what I mean? It's part of it, you know? Reproductive organ donations. Please come take it. Thank you. You can have all of it. You can keep the eggs if you want. You can go make little mini-me's if you want to with my eggs. That's fine. I don't care. Just come take it from me. Thank you. I got pretty good genetics, so you ain't gonna get any fucked up babies, I promise. Like, if that's something you're concerned about, your kid's not gonna have, like, 8 forms of cancer, you know what I mean? Like, the worst case scenario, blood clots, breast cancer. That's what I got running in my family. We've got an early graying gene on my mom's side, and that's about it. That's really all we got going on over here. So we got ADHD out the ass. There's probably a risk for depression, but that's true for every child. So, you know, nothing special in my family. There is Parkinson's, but that's like removed in a degree on my mom's side. But, you know, the things that most people have are some form of cancer and generally some other running thing like heart disease or something like that, you know. But I think it's so interesting to bring women trying to get sterilized into this conversation because it's not relevant at all. It's not relevant at all. It's not related in any capacity. And I don't know why people want to bring in, or why he's actually the only one I've ever seen bring women wanting to get fertilized into the trans conversation. So, in this way, you know, like I've seen people like trans men talk about how it's harder for them to get sterilized because they have female reproductive organs. And like, what if you decide you're actually a girl and you marry a man who wants a baby? You know, like that's what I'm going to end up hearing when I start going to appointments and stuff for that is, well, you might like women, but like, what if you decide you actually like men and like you get pregnant and like he wants a baby though? You know, like we can't take out your uterus because you're only 22, like you're really young, and like, bitch, I don't know if my eggs even work anymore. Take it out of me, thank you. You know, like that is a very common thing generally for white women. There are other women that also struggle with that, but more often or not, it's white women who struggle to get sterilized because it's like this like almost ethnic cleansing type situation going on. Not even almost. It's an ethnic cleansing situation going on that not enough people talk about, and something I wasn't fully aware of until maybe a year ago when I came across I believe it was a Puerto Rican woman who was talking about her experience, how she had some sort of like abdominal surgery, and while they were in there working on her, they cut her tubes, and she did not know that until later. You know, why would a woman care what a man wants to do with their bodies? Honestly, if I meet a man and I, for some godforsaken reason, develop an attraction to a man in the future, God forbid, and he wants kids, he can go find them somewhere else because I ain't giving him none. You know what I mean? No, I ain't giving you no babies. It's not how this works. You know? And I think it's so stupid. Like, I've talked to women who've had 2 to 3 kids who still can't get sterilized. How stupid is that? Like, you're told your whole life you can have, once you get 2 kids, they'll sterilize you. But I've talked to women who have more than 2 kids and their doctor still won't sterilize them. And I'm like, honey, you need to shop around for more doctors because I'm sure you can find someone. I came across, there's this running thing on TikTok. There's this one woman on TikTok who's running who's created like a big Google Doc almost. I think it's a Google Doc. A list of providers throughout the country that provide sterilization and provide other certain, like, not necessarily trans, but like abortion related procedures. And it's so amazing that that's a thing, that it's awful that it's a thing that has to be there, but it's amazing that it is something that this woman has put together. She's either a nurse or a doctor herself. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a hot second since I've come across one of her TikToks, but it's an ever-growing list, and there's a bunch of doctors in the comments. They're like, I don't know how I ended up on this list, but I'm glad I'm there because I do provide these services. And it's really great to see the medical community coming together to tell our government to go fuck themselves, because there's so many doctors out there, a vast majority of them actually, that think this Roe v. Wade shit is bullshit. And there's less of them that want to sterilize, that will not want to, but that will sterilize women when they ask. But I think it's so fucked up that the amount of men that have gotten vasectomies since Roe v. Wade was overturned has to be 2 or 3 times the amount of women who've been able to be sterilized over the past couple of years, because the amount of women I've seen who are like, guess what my hubby did today? He got his vasectomy, you know, and the women in the comments are like, I've been trying to get the equivalent for 6 years. And like, you could make the argument that like getting your tubes tied as a woman is a more complex procedure and a more internal procedure than it is to get a vasectomy, because, you know, the balls are outside of the body, but it's still a very similar procedure and it's doing the same thing. And if that's something that woman wants to go through, she should be allowed to. Now, I am a trans man who personally does not mind abortion rights being called women's rights. That doesn't bother me at all. I understand that there are some trans men out there and non-binary people out there who do find that an issue. It personally doesn't affect me. I understand that I have female reproductive organs and it does not bother me. So the dude one is also easily reversible. Exactly. And I think, and I personally don't care if you call it women's rights. I understand that the majority of people who are affected by the overturning of Roe v. Wade are women, and that doesn't bother me at all that they call it that. But there are some trans men out there who are offended by it, and I think more non-binary people out there who are like, well, I'm not a woman, nor a trans man, and I got these organs. It personally doesn't bother me. I'm not affected by it. Maybe it's because I still have some internalized transphobia, but who knows? I see my organs as female, so it being women's reproductive rights applies to my uterus because I have a woman's uterus. So there is a woman's uterus trapped inside of my man body. So, you know, that's kind of how I look at it. Is this going to be more of the same bullshit?
I've read women's stories trying desperately to get this procedure, which is very interesting because the legal requirements in my state for getting this kind of surgery were be at least 21 years old, pure of sound mind, acting of your own accord, and have a 30-day waiting period. And I was perplexed that I could meet all of these legal requirements and still have to face a battle in the exam room for my bodily autonomy. No one was going to approve this procedure.
Even for men, you still have to be 18 to get a vasectomy, and doctors can still reject you if they don't believe you are mature enough.
And most of the time, not all of the time, when a woman goes in to get her tubes tied or whatever sterilization procedure she wants, if she's married, or sometimes even if she has a boyfriend, he has to sign off on it. It does happen for men who get vasectomies. My uncle had a vasectomy many, many years ago, and the woman he was dating at the time, they asked her if she was cool with it. She didn't have to sign anything, but she was there for the pre-appointment where you're talking about what's going to happen before you come back later for the actual procedure. And they asked her if she was cool with it, and she said she was. But that was it. She didn't have to sign anything. It wasn't this big, long, difficult, like having to have 3 different appointments to yell at them to tell them to do it. And that's not even a universal experience of men. So most men can go in to their doctor, say, hey, I want a vasectomy. The doctor says, cool, come back next week at this time, and we'll do it for you. He comes back next week, they do it for him, and that's the end of the story. And I think that's incredibly fucked up. I don't care how reversible it is. It's still fucked up that women have to get a man to sign off on a procedure that they want done to their body. It's stupid and dumb. But we all already knew that, so...
Now, before I go any further, let's set the stage a little bit. These clips come from a series called My Trans Life, and this episode is called Both of Our Children Are Trans.
Mm-hmm.
It features parents Sarah and
That
Ben
happens.
with their kids Olivia and James. James is around 11, and Olivia is 7.
Mm-hmm.
Olivia is a biological male who has socially transitioned into a female, which is not permanent. And James is a biological female who is medically transitioning into a male, which is permanent.
Well, he's not medically transitioning yet. You're wrong, actually. He's not started testosterone yet. He's on blockers. That is not medically transitioning. It's not medically transitioning. You all know I am a huge advocate for blockers. If I had figured out I was trans at a young enough age to beat puberty at the punch, and I was denied puberty blockers and was still forced to go through that puberty, I would be so beyond pissed. But kids who figure it out early, because most kids actually do. Most people knew they were trans at a very young age. I don't count myself in that. I knew I was different, but I didn't have words to describe it, so I don't tend to count myself in that category. But there are so many trans men that you talk to, and so many trans women that you talk to that knew they were trans so young. And it wasn't cemented into their minds that that's what was wrong until they hit puberty, because puberty is so ass for everyone, but especially for a trans person who's going through the wrong puberty. And the kids out there, people like Nicole Maines, who figured it out young and had a supportive family and let them go through the correct puberty on the first go round, their lives are so much simpler and so much less mentally grueling and so much less depressing. Because if this kid here, this guy, James here, he's not going to ever have to deal with titties. He may never have to deal with menstruation, at least not to the degree that women do when they actually go through puberty. He's not going to have to deal with tits. He's not going to have to get them chopped off. Like, how awesome is that? Like, can you imagine the amount of money that he's going to save in his lifetime by going through puberty blockers, by using them, you know? The amount of anguish that his mind isn't going to have to experience is absolutely lovely. And I'm so happy for him. But also, he can be on blockers for a few years, and maybe he decides he's not trans. He's just non-binary, which is still trans. But he's non-binary, he doesn't really want to go on testosterone, and estrogen's fine for him. Great. He got to grow into that decision instead of being forced to experience female puberty and then be like, no, I hate this shit. I'm a dude. Please chop these off of me. Like, puberty blockers are lovely. They're fucking fantastic. And trying to demonize them as, like, something that causes infertility or something that's not reversible is just factually incorrect and incredibly damaging. And they were banned. And I believe maybe they're not necessarily in their entirety, but they were restricted from minors in the UK. And that's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. It's so fucked up. And I hate that.
Now, I want to make it clear that none of the criticisms I make in this video are directed at the kids. All of my criticisms are aimed at the parents and the media. I also
God forbid parents support their kids.
Make it clear that this video is not an attack on the transgender community.
It is.
The transition as
It is. Saying blockers are bad is an attack on the transgender community because it very much affects us. Trans kids are part of the community. Tell me you don't know what being trans is without telling me you don't know what being trans is.
Then that's their choice. As long as you aren't hurting anyone, I don't care how you identify yourself.
No one's being hurt by using puberty blockers. No one. Not a single soul is being hurt except your fifis by using puberty blockers.
We shouldn't be treated better or worse.
I agree. People shouldn't be treated better or worse because they identify as the opposite gender. People should be judged based on the content of their character. Which, of course, means I also agree with the first part of young Olivia's statement, which is that people shouldn't be given special treatment just because they happen to fall into a particular group.
No one's being given special treatment. Also, do you understand what I mean by his voice is annoying as fuck? He sounds like he's talking with his nose closed, you know, talking like this, but he's trying to not sound that way. So he's talking like this. So, like, he's trying to sound like his nose isn't closed, but it's really difficult. So this is what I sound like normally talking with my nose sealed versus trying to talk where my nose isn't sealed, but I still kind of sound like I have a really nasally speech. That's what he sounds like, and I hate it.
Just making sure people heard the kids say that. Anyway, let's get into it. But first, if you like the content on this channel...
No one likes the content on this channel. Fuck off.
Can all...
No.
Getting back to the kids, I'm making a big deal out of this because the older one,
because you're
James,
awful.
says he wants children when he grows up.
Yeah, he can still have that.
Said you wanted to be a parent.
Yeah.
So, what are you gonna do about that if you can't have your own child?
Adopting, like, is a great idea to me.
So I am a big fan...
So what the fuck is your issue, sir? What is he complaining? He said the kid said he wants kids in the future, and he's totally down for adoption. Shut up. End of story. Like, if he wanted biological children, he could have his eggs frozen. There is no issue here. There is no issue here. None. None.
of adoption, and adopting is a really generous thing to do. But typically when people grow up, they want their own biological children.
No, they don't.
James now doesn't have that choice.
He does still have that... James isn't on testosterone yet. Did this guy miss that part of the video where the mom said he'll start testosterone in a few years? Because he's not on T yet. He's not on testosterone yet. What are you talking about? He's just on blockers, and they don't do anything. Oh, the lack of education. The misinformation. It's so sad to see these people trapped in their own minds. Oh. He's not even paying attention to the video he's covering. James isn't on testosterone yet. He's not. He's not on testosterone yet. But he's at the age where most female people start puberty, so he's on blockers to keep that from happening. That doesn't hurt his fertility chances. That doesn't do anything but keep puberty from starting. I didn't start puberty till I was 13. That's pretty late for a lot of women. That's pretty late, actually. Most of the girls I knew at the time had already started their puberty and been on it for a while. You know what I mean? I was pretty late to the game. So, so him at 11 starting blockers, if I had done that, nothing would have changed in my life because I had 3 years to go before I started my puberty. So, like, what? Okay, I don't think we're going to get any new information from here.
11.
Yes?
Generally, people are mature enough to have kids around the age of 25. That's more than twice his age.
But so many people have kids before that age. You're leaving out the sheer amount of people that have kids before that age.
He is just a little kid whose biology and mentality are constantly changing. He has no idea how he's going to feel when he is 25.
Yes, and if he decides when he's 25 he wants biological children, he'll get over it. He'll get over it. Maybe he'll try going off testosterone if he's not had his organs removed yet, because you can't get surgeries until you're an adult, so that's not even on the table. You have to be 18 or older to get surgeries. But say he gets older and he's been on testosterone for 10 years and he decides he wants a biological child. He can try going off of testosterone if he still has his reproductive organs, and he can try getting pregnant. Because for trans men, infertility is not a guarantee. It's not even a guarantee for trans women. It's just far more common because of the way male reproductive organs work. Tell me you know nothing about trans people without telling me you know nothing about trans people.
Or how much he's going to change in the next 14 years. It is highly irresponsible of the parents and the doctors, by the way, to allow him to make a permanent decision like this at 11.
He's not made any permanent decisions yet. He's on blockers, not testosterone.
Parents seem to be more concerned about reassuring people that everything is okay, instead of being...
Yes, because they have to, because people like you are trying to tell people that things aren't okay, when everything is literally fine. This guy has no self-awareness, and it shows. It shows. I'm gonna watch a couple more minutes of this, and then we'll move on to the next video, because we're not getting any new information. He's not said anything different.
Can you show me what the blocker looks like that's implanted? First, show me.
Oh, it's an implanted blocker.
Where is it?
It's
So basically, he's on birth control right now.
right there.
Right there. Can I feel it?
It's basically birth control is what he's on right now.
It feels weird, but it doesn't hurt.
And what's the sample look like that you have?
It looks like
That's what the little stick thing was.
this.
See,
So it's an IUD. He's got an IUD in, basically, to help stop the puberty from going. It's probably different than an IUD, but it's the same general idea.
kids, hormone blockers aren't that scary. It's just a little straw thing. The whole media narrative
They aren't scary.
behind hormone blockers is, don't worry, they're a safe drug and they don't have any problems.
Yes, because the problems they do have are so beyond rare, they're not even really worth mentioning.
Listen.
And minuscule. Like, I've seen that sometimes blockers can cause, like, if a trans woman goes on, let's say a biological male goes on blockers and then decides to go off of blockers and go through male puberty and grows up that way. There is a minor chance that there is some bone density changes, but those bone density changes are so minute and inconsequential that they're not worth talking about unless you're actively going to go on those blockers. It's only worth talking about to the people who are going on blockers because it's their decision to make whether that risk is worth taking. But the risk is so small, you don't hear anybody talk about it because it's so little. It's so small. Oh, God.
Every drug has side effects.
Yes.
Here's an
No one
article
is
done
saying
by
they
the
don't
St.
have side
Louis Children's
effects.
Hospital saying that hormone blockers mess with your bone density.
Possible. long-term side effects of puberty blockers. Lower bone density, and to protect against this, we give them extra vitamin D. What the page you're showing us does not give us a percentage of people that end up with this thing. Delayed growth plate closure. Yes, that makes sense. That makes sense. Less development of genital tissue, which may limit options for gender-affirming surgery later in life. May is the key word. These are possible long-term side effects. These are not guaranteed side effects.
But don't worry, because they give their patients calcium and make sure they exercise.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Considering how little...
Yeah. Have you ever taken a medication in your life? God, this man has... Obviously, he's never taken birth control before because he's a cis man. But have you seen the list of side effects to female birth control? Have you seen the list? Also, most depression meds have a side effect of depression. You can take depression meds to make you less depressed, and instead it will make you more depressed. Every medication has side effects. These side effects, though, are rare. Are so rare. They're so beyond rare. That's why you hear people say that they are completely safe. Because this shit doesn't happen to 99.99999% of people who go on blockers. Also, blockers aren't just used on trans people, which transphobes love to leave out. That blockers are things used on cis people all the time. All the time. And for hundreds of years.
I guarantee you they aren't following that program for more than a few weeks, let alone this...
Oh, did you ask them? Did you ask them if they were following the routine of taking their vitamins? Did you ask them that? Did you do a survey of all of the people who have ever gone on blockers? No, I don't fucking think so. And that's up to, if that person fails to follow the regimen that their doctor has given them, that's on them. That's a personal decision that you've made to not follow your doctor's directions. What?
Several years it would take to actually be effective. Hormone blockers also screw with your height and development of genital tissue, along with other possible long-term side effects that we don't know about because there isn't enough data. So essentially,
yes, and you know why there's not enough data? Because for a very long time, blockers were only used in cis people. Okay, I'm done with this video. We're just getting repetitive at this point.
We are going to be
running
a race.
Oh, wrong button. All right, guys. How is the radical left teaching racism to children? Let's find out together.
However, your starting position in this race will be decided by the answers to questions that we are going to be asking you.
Say what? It's a joke.
Get it? It's a race about racism.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
is.
joke like the kid said.
Shut up. This is great. I like this. She didn't make it based on the color of their skin. She's doing it based on something else to explain how racism works. But we'll let them get further in.
I am certain that this lady is going to give these kids a fair rendition of the world and won't try to play any manipulative games to make these kids dislike each other based on race.
Can I be racist against the ginger? That hair is really orange. It was really, really orange hair. He's also out in the sun, so that it's shining through his hair to make it look really, really orange. But yeah, that was some, like,
insane.
Clown-level orange. Honestly, I'm impressed.
This activity is intended to explore how society favors one race over others.
People often confuse white privilege with being wealthy or being rich, and it isn't about that. What it's about is the absence of having to live with the consequences of racism.
What exactly does the consequences of racism mean? You didn't specify, so basically...
You've not finished the video. What do you mean, what are the consequences? Do you know how long the list of consequences of racism are? They are about as long, if not longer, than the side effects of fucking birth control. What do you mean? You're heading out, Jimmy? Oh, the consequences of racism. What do you mean? What are the consequences of racism? Crack a book, man. Read. Google it. Google consequences of racism.
It could mean anything. Does that mean I have to feel guilty about slavery, which is something I never participated in?
No one said that. No one said that.
and is also something that pretty much every single race has done to other races.
No one's talking about slavery. Why do they always go to slavery? Why do they always go to slavery? No one talked about slavery. Sir, you're the one who brought up slavery.
How about you thank the West for leading the charge in making slavery illegal?
Okay, we get it. You're angry. We understand. You're angry and dumb. It's okay. You're allowed to be dumb. It's okay. But maybe try educating yourself before being angry.
There are many other parts of the world where it still exists.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, Japanese Americans were subject to racism in the 1940s.
Huh?
Do you remember when the U.S. government and the media establishment fear-mongered everyone into being okay with Japanese people having their property stolen? And
yes, you're talking about a consequence of racism. Where are you going with this?
Being thrown into concentration camps?
Uh-huh.
That was around 80 years more recently than slavery.
Yes.
Japanese people seem to be doing just fine.
No, they don't. What are you on? Have you talked to Japanese people? Have you spoken to them? Also, Japanese people, some of them, can benefit from having lighter skin compared to some black people. Some Japanese people, not all, some of them can pass as white because they are light-skinned, or because they are mixed race, for example. But that's not even relevant, because Japanese people still experience racism to this day in this country. What? How is... Explain to me how that's relevant. Also, systemic racism is specifically geared to hurt black people. Not just all people of color. It is very specific against black people. Systemic racism was built around the idea of slavery, and the idea of slavery was that black people are lesser than, and that has continued on into our laws and into the way we function as a society, which is why systemic racism tends to affect black people more than other people of color. It still affects those other peoples of color, just not to the degree that it can affect black people. Like Pakistani people, God forbid, experience a completely different type of racism than black people do, especially if they are Muslim, or wear any sort of religious clothing, or have really brown skin, for example. They experience different types of racism because they are a different skin color and from a different place. But most systemic racism is geared to hurt black people. Not all of it, and it does affect every person of color, but not as much as it affects black people. This is statistical. You can look it up. The statistics show you that. It affects all people of color, but not to the degree it affects black people. That's why we bring up slavery. That's why we talk about slavery. Because slavery is what set that precedent for black people being lesser than. That's what it is. The Japanese concentration camps weren't slavery. They were just racist. They were racist and wrong and awful, and a lot of people don't know that that was a thing because they don't teach us about it in schools. Because our education system is ass and whitewashed.
So is this really about the consequences of racism?
Yes, it is.
Or are you just trying to divide and conquer people?
Also,
anyway.
this video takes place in the UK. These people aren't in America. So why are you talking about American shit?
Let's hear the rules of this game.
If the question applies to you, you will take a big step forward. If the answer to the question doesn't apply to you, you stay where you are.
Oh wait, I forgot to check who this was made by. Let's see. It looks like it was made by Channel 4. Well, that makes sense. Remember this Channel 4 interview with Jordan Peterson where they spent the whole time strawmanning him?
You cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech...
Imagine saying that in a conversation with Jordan Peterson, the other person was strawmanning. Imagine saying something so stupid. I want to see what his example is. Hold on.
Strawmanning him?
You cited freedom of speech in that. Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to.
How is that a straw man question? That was a fair question.
Being offensive. I mean, because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive.
No,
look at the
you don't.
conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather...
Because her offending you does not affect your right to exist. Whereas calling a trans person a slur or saying that they don't deserve rights affects their ability to exist. Her questioning your ideologies does not affect your ability to walk around and be an asshole.
uncomfortable.
That's a straw man argument. What he just did there was a straw man. I love that he didn't even pick a clip from this interview where she was straw manning. The clip he picked included Jordan Peterson making a straw man argument. I mean, to this guy, to think before you sleep's credit, there isn't a moment where Jordan Peterson isn't trying to straw man somebody, so it's hard to find an example, but...
Man,
oh, it's funny.
Imagine censoring people, firing them, or throwing them in jail because something they said made you uncomfortable.
Harassment. It is called harassment. Harassment is, say it with me, kids, illegal. And punishable. Doing it once, you won't get fired for doing it once. No one has ever been fired for misgendering someone once or even twice. You get fired for misgendering someone when it gets to the point that it is harassment, that it is constant, that you have been corrected repeatedly and you will not fix your behavior. That is when it becomes harassment, and therefore harassment is in fact a fireable offense. And you're lucky that you're just fired and not being charged with harassment. That is the difference. You're allowed to make mistakes, but if you continue to purposefully make that mistake, that's when it becomes a problem. Again, talking about things that have never happened. Not great for your argument.
Truth tends to be uncomfortable, so I can think of nothing that is more authoritarian than that. Let's get more into
The truth
it,
can be
but
apparently
first,
very
if you
uncomfortable for
like
these
the
people.
content you see on this
No,
channel,
no one does.
question
Fuck off.
is actually a
Forward. Ever been asked where you come from? Take a step forward.
okay. I'm white and I've been asked about my racial heritage a ton of times.
No, you haven't. Shut the hell up. No, you have not. That's not even what she asked. Shut the fuck up, okay? You have never been asked the words, where do you come from? You've been asked, what's your ancestry like, maybe? What kind of white are you, maybe? I, as a white person, have never once in my life been asked, where are you from? In like a, what country are you supposed to be from way? People have asked me, where am I from? In like a, what neighborhood do you live in type of situation? Or what school do you go to type of situation? No one has ever asked me about my heritage. This guy is full of shit. No one has ever asked you, where are you from? No one has ever told you to go back to where you came from. No one has ever told you to get out of my country. You know why? 'Cause you're white.
my life. How is this a disadvantage? This question about where you're from is actually a conversation starter.
It's not. It's not a conversation starter. It is not a conversation starter. It can be if you phrase it correctly, but the way racist people do it, it's not phrased in a way where it's meant to be like a conversation starter. It's done in a way to make people feel less than. It's one thing to walk up to a brown person and be like, and ask them about their heritage somewhere in the conversation, but to start the conversation with, hey, where is your family from, is racist and rude. It's rude. That's what it is. Get over it.
Communication skills and come from a place that's unique, it can make for some really interesting dialogue.
It can, but don't start the conversation that way.
People like you and be way more invested in how someone.
Shut up.
Backward from of your race, ever been the only person in the room of your race, take a step backwards.
If you aren't racist, why does it matter? People are judged by their merit, not
I'm gonna let him finish first. Hold on.
by their skin color. And by the way,
Did you just say people aren't judged by their skin? Oh my god. He just said people aren't judged by their skin color. Did you all hear that too? Hold on, I'll play it again.
Why does it matter? People are judged by their merit, not by their skin color.
Sir, have you been in the world? Have you existed outside? He really just said people aren't judged by their skin color. I mean, I knew this was gonna hurt, because I knew this guy was a fucking dumbass, but I didn't realize how big of a dumbass. He really just said people aren't judged by their skin color. Meanwhile, earlier he talked about Japanese internment camps. What do you mean they weren't judged by their skin color? What? I'm so confused.
And by the way, it's the radical left who's trying to bring back judging people by their skin color. When
No.
I was younger,
First of all, no one's bringing anything back. It's been here. It's never gone anywhere. It didn't leave. The radical left, which are just normal people, by the way, to basically every other country on the goddamn planet that is, you know, of a first world country, are trying to bring awareness to the fact that it's still an issue. We're not bringing anything back. It's never gone away. Systemic racism is ingrained into the American society. And if you can't see that with your eyes after going to a class or reading up on our laws and how they were created, or God forbid you look into how the housing market has been created, then you are just closing your eyes, because it is so apparent and so obvious. Talk to any person of color about their experiences in their life, and you will see that racism never went away. And that's the thing. White people have gotten so comfortable because suddenly, just because black people can get married to white people and black people don't have to drink at different water fountains anymore, they suddenly think racism is gone. And they've gotten comfortable in that belief. And now that some of us are, and some people of color, generally on the left, are speaking up about the fact that it is not gone, suddenly the right tend to think, are like, oh, the left are trying to bring racism back. No, we're trying to remind you it's never gone away. It never left. It's still here and still runs our country. It's just not as in your face as it used to be. But it will be very in your face if you get educated on it, because it's everywhere. And it's so clear this guy has no friends of color. He's never spent time with people of color, because at work, I have watched people be racist towards my black coworkers, or my brown coworkers, or my Mexican coworkers. At the Kroger in Bowling Green, one of my coworkers was Hispanic. There were some Hispanic people coming through the line who didn't speak very good English. Unfortunately, they were in her line, and she speaks Spanish fluently. It's her first language. And so she was talking to them in Spanish so that they could have a more appropriate conversation and a fuller conversation, so that the people paying for their food didn't get confused. They spoke English, just not great English, you know? They tried. But my coworker realized that Spanish seemed to be their first language, because they'd been speaking Spanish before they got up to the line. I started talking to them in Spanish, and they were really appreciative of that. And then the white lady behind them stood there with this look on her face. She wanted to say something. You could tell she wanted to say something. And you could say, oh, Nico, you're just making that. No, you can tell when someone has something they want to say. And you want to know how I know she was standing there with something she wanted to say? Because she walked up to my white ass to say something after she checked out at the checkout. She walked up to me thinking that I would be okay with her racism towards my coworker and our non-white patrons. Because white people, for some reason, seem to think that every other white person is going to agree with their horse shit. I told her to get the fuck out of the store. She said something like, it's not appropriate for them to be talking like that in here. Or something like that. And I said, talking like what? Talking like what? She didn't have anything to say to me about that. Because racism is ignorance. And ignorance can only go so far. And it's so frustrating to hear white people say that racism's not a thing anymore. Because it's very clearly a thing. If you've been outside, I would have responded to her in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, so I couldn't. I should have said, no habla español. No habla español. Sorry. You know? Or no habla inglés, sorry. Español? No habla inglés? My white ass, can you imagine? Her brain would have exploded, and we would have had to wipe her brains up off the floor.
Care cared about what race you were. In fact, I, as a white person, have been in a room where I was the only white person. Many times.
Oh. I'm shocked. Did you feel unsafe? Has that happened to you a lot? He said many times, but I have mega doubt. Because I know white people who grew up in the poorest parts of the cities and also the blackest parts of the cities, and they still never ended up in a room where they were the only white person. I knew white people who grew up on the black side of town. I knew white people who had been adopted by a black family and still never ended up in a room where they were the only white person. So this man is full of shit. And maybe he's not lying. Maybe he has been the only white person in the room before. Maybe he has. Maybe it's happened to him a lot. But that would make him an outlier. My entire life, I can only think of one situation where I was the only white person in the room. I remember it vividly. I was on the bus on the way up to Cherry Hall at school. I was the only white person on the bus. I was excited because I'd never experienced that before. Because it was a very white campus, and everywhere I've gone, it is a very white place to be. And there were a number of Hispanic people, brown people, black people, all different colors on the bus. But I was the only white one. And I got to experience what that is like. I wasn't afraid or upset or anything. I was actually excited because that had never happened before, ever in my life. And I grew up at a school where there were quite a large number of black people going to that school. Like, and that was such a rare experience for me that it's something I still remember to this day. And it's been like 3-4 years. Like, that doesn't happen very often. And if you can't see by the fact that every person of color on that field took a step back, but the white people didn't, then your eyes are closed. So, you know.
The second job I ever worked was for a company that cleaned hospitals. I was the only white employee at that company. Everyone else there was either black or Latino.
Oh, so you worked for a cleaning company and you were the only white person? Huh, I wonder why that is. This man's ignorance is so far beyond. So far beyond. Oh my god.
No, and there was like one Filipino guy. During the 2.5 years I worked that job, nobody talked about race, and we all got along great.
Yeah.
I met some really cool people there, and we had a lot of great conversations during breaks and when we were supposed to be working. That was around 12 years ago. Thanks to all the radical leftists promoting critical race theory, I imagine working that job in today's environment would be a much more hostile experience. We can thank things like Channel 4 for making people hate each other unnecessarily. Look,
no one's making people hate each other.
It's even having an effect on the kids, too.
The divide widens, and the inequality of their position becomes clear.
This is just like not fair now.
Farah, none of us are white. None of us are white. It's unfair.
Wow, thank you for your service.
The amount of black people and black kids out there who don't know that their white peers are privileged, or the amount of white kids out there who don't know that they are privileged, is insane. And if we don't make kids aware of that privilege and of that divide, they can't use that privilege to make the divide smaller. That's why it's important to teach kids about racism and about white privilege. Because if we don't teach white kids that they are privileged in a way that their peers of color aren't, then those white kids can't grow up to fix that issue. Because they don't even know it's there. These black kids did not know that their life experiences were not shared by everybody else. These white kids in the front probably also didn't know that their peers of color did not experience life the same way. And that is so big of an issue, because if those kids only realize that at a later age, at that point it's almost too late to do anything about it. You have to be consciously aware of racism to do anything about the racism. Especially in this day and age where racism is so... it's not in your face like slavery and stuff like that anymore. You have to be aware with your eyes that it exists so you can see it when it happens. And this kind of experiment, while it might make these black kids feel bad, it will open the eyes of the white kids to understand that they live a privileged life. Now, it's not necessarily bad that they do, but it isn't fair that their peers don't also get to live a life of similar privilege. And that's so fucking important. It is so fucking important. And I guarantee the teacher at the end of this is going to stress that you shouldn't be mad at each other for the fact that your experiences are different. Because it's not each other's fault that your experiences are different. That is so often stressed when I hear teachers who teach things that people want to call critical race theory when it's literally just teaching history and racism, and teaching you what racism is, say that they assure their kids that it's not their fault that the world is the way it is, but it is up to them to eventually fix it. That's just how it is. You get to pay Mexicans less than minimum wage is the reason I heard from a rich dude I talk to sometimes. Yeah, because if you can find yourself an illegal immigrant, you can say, either you take this minimal pay, this pay that's like $2 an hour, or I will report you to ICE. So.
First lady, you've really helped society by taking these kids who were previously okay and making them resentful based on race.
They didn't say they were resentful. None of these kids have said they were resentful yet. At least not that you've shown us. They're just aware now. That's different.
Remember when they were happy at the start?
We are going to be running a race.
Yeah, because they get to run a race.
That title. Heartbreaking moment when kids learn about white privilege. The only heartbreaking thing that happened here is what you did to these kids' minds with this game. Speaking of, we aren't out of questions yet.
Wow, holy shit. This video was like bombed. Jesus.
Speaking of, we aren't out of questions yet.
If English is your parents' first language, take a step forward.
Oh, yeah.
How is this a disadvantage? I know this took place in the UK.
What do you mean, how is this a disadvantage? What do you mean? What? If your parents' first language isn't English and they aren't very good at speaking English, your job becomes the translator. That's what you end up being. You can see this in deaf people as well. People who have two deaf parents, but they are hearing, oftentimes end up translators for their deaf parents. It's the same concept. If, let's say, my parents' first language was German or something, and they don't speak English very well, it is now on me to essentially, not on purpose, but it ends up becoming, you learn both English and German, and then you end up being their translator. And that can make your life far more difficult. It will make your parents' lives far more difficult. It's harder to get jobs in mainly English-speaking countries when you don't speak very good English. What do you mean? How is that a disadvantage? It's so... The lack of education is what's bothering me most here. Because what he's saying out of ignorance and hatred. He's just not aware of the fact of how the world works, and I think that's the biggest problem here. He's not educated in this, and that's a problem. And that's why people do these kinds of experiments with these kids, because these kids understanding how the world works is the most important thing. It's so important. More important than learning what kind of clouds are in the sky.
But in California, if your parents speak Spanish and they teach that to you, that gives you an advantage when it comes to getting hired for a job.
Yes, speaking Spanish in Southern California and along the Mexican border is helpful. You can't get a job at a retail place without being able to speak Spanish. Because, and you want to know why? Because the Spanish-speaking population there is so high that if you don't speak Spanish, you're not going to be able to serve all the customers. You know why the Spanish-speaking group is so big there? It's not because of immigration. It's because the Mexican border crossed them when we bought a bunch of land. That's why it's important. Because it's not right for us to tell them they have to learn our language when we bought their land. It's only fair that we learn theirs to accommodate for the fact that we stole their land from them. We bought their land from them at pennies on the dollar.
But I guess what they're implying is that not being a native speaker prevents you from understanding people and harms your ability to socially connect. Which is ironic, because harming people's ability to socially connect is exactly what Channel 4 is doing with this assignment.
No, it's
Here's
not.
the thing, though. When my great-grandparents immigrated to America, they didn't speak any English.
Mhm.
My grandmother and grandfather's family came from the same town, and when my great-grandparents moved, they
Hello.
told their kids, my grandmother and grandfather, we're in America now, we are only going to speak English. Guess what? They learned English very well, and my great-grandparents who are...
Good for them. Learning languages is hard. English is pretty difficult as well for someone who, especially if you don't speak like a Germanic language already. English is a hard language to learn. And sometimes you don't have the funds to learn a new language.
Not native speakers of
You're just telling us that your family's privileged. That's what he's doing. That's all he's doing.
English ended up being perfectly capable of speaking the language. Their son, my grandfather, grew up to be a very successful electrical engineer. My grandmother became a stay-at-home mom, and they retired very well off. Maybe it's less about what your native language is.
This man's an idiot, and I hate him.
Sit in my chair.
It's comfy. I spilled milk on it earlier.
Did you clean it?
Yes, I cleaned it. No, I'm just sitting on it and soaking it up with my asshole. Yes, I cleaned it. I was pushing the chair in here because I didn't know that you worked a couple hours while you were here before leaving, which is why I left the chair in here, because I figured you wouldn't need it in the morning.
No, I didn't.
To save me the trouble of moving it around. Because I just
left
thought
it
you
here.
went to fucking work, because the days and then you go to work, and apparently you spend an hour here working, and then you go to work like a fucking weirdo.
Yes,
So, you know, how was I supposed to know that you're a fucking weirdo? You know what I mean?
I thought I had told you that before.
Nope, I've never been informed of this information.
You already knew because you've woken up with me here before at that hour.
Yeah, I just assumed that was the day you didn't go to work.
Nope. I stay home.
But I was pushing it in here, and the wheel hit that, and I had my chocolate milk in one hand, and my other hand on here, and it was very sad. But because of the kind of chair you have, it was really easy to clean up. So
That's true.
I did have to wipe it off of the inside of the chair, but, you know, because it landed, like, right on the, like, mesh part.
Love that.
He is very punchable sounding, isn't he? He has the most punchable voice I've ever heard.
Is it somebody from
He talks like this. He sounds like this when he talks. Except he's very racist and privileged and white.
May I hear?
Yeah. Yeah. He said earlier that people aren't discriminated against based on their race.
Okay.
And more about being willing to learn the
Wow, he
primary
really
language
does
of the
sound
country
like
you
that.
live in.
Right?
This philosophy that Channel 4 and
I hate
leftists
it.
promote is
I hate it a lot.
absolutely
It's awful.
cancerous to the people they're claiming to
It's gross.
Nico needs to pee.
Okay. Max also needs to pee.
I've drank almost this entire thing, so.
to help, and more about being willing to learn the primary language of the country you live in. This philosophy that Channel 4 and leftists promote is absolutely cancerous to the people they are claiming to help.
Max stream? No, probably not.
What?
Stray said Max stream?
No, Max will not be streaming.
Yeah, Max is a loser. Max doesn't like streaming.
Well, I have very little energy, and the idea of talking to other people in a situation where I'm expected to, like, keep things interesting is a lot of pressure.
Well, that's what the video's for. The video keeps things interesting.
That's fair. I don't know, just still somehow feels like more energy as opposed to, like, recording something.
What are we doing today?
I don't know.
Do we have anything we have to do today?
No.
Okay. Cool.
Fold that laundry.
Stray sad. I mean the laundry from last week.
Yes, the laundry from last week.
It's
Sorry,
mostly
Stray.
towels and stuff, isn't it?
I think there might be some shirts in there. Miscellaneous clothes that happen to be at the bottom of the basket.
I'm definitely less sweaty sitting in this chair.
That's fun for
My
you.
ass does like to sweat, and it's got more of a breeze now.
Happy for you.
But I've also had the door open and the fan blowing, so who knows?
Didn't mean to make you sad, Stray. Don't cry. Max is just not the streaming type.
No. Max is boring.
Max is not boring. I make occasional appearances on your streams, mostly as
Oh.
a disembodied voice.
I meant to post
but
Max Reacts today. Oops.
Not
It's Tuesday.
not in person with my face. Not really my thing. I mean, I've done it before, but it's just not really my preference.
I forgot to post these. Oopsies.
Plus, it's probably more interesting for you guys if I make a weird noise and I'm off camera.
That's true. Out of body experience. Let's see. I've already posted Too Far Gone. I don't know why I don't have it marked, but whatever.
You're like, where did that
409.
cat getting punched in the face sound come from?
Oh, why is it still 109? You've watched me fix it. Remember you pointed it out to me? As I was labeling them? You were like, 109?
I really don't recall that.
Yeah. I thought my memory was the bad memory.
How do you recall that? From, like, weeks ago.
It was this weekend.
I did not correct you.
Yes,
This
you did.
weekend.
Yes, you did.
I 0% remember that.
Yeah, I typed 109 and you were like 109 and I was like, oh shit, and I fixed it.
How do you remember things like that and not remember other important
Sir,
things?
it's called ADHD.
Sir, am I?
You mean like your
sir?
PIN code for your card that you've literally told me 1,000 times?
I mean, it sure is secure. You're not going to be able to steal my debit card.
Stray said my ADHD filters out random max tick sounds. But Nico's just sitting here raging at idiots. That's low energy. That's true. That's true. It is fairly low energy. I got post to max reacts. I forgot it.
See, but me being like an anxious person, even the idea of like sitting there and raging at idiots with someone watching me in the background would give me like a lot of anxiety.
It doesn't take a lot, so.
I don't know. Plus, there's like a level of like.
You could be sitting doing nothing and you would still have anxiety, so.
Well, yeah.
Because you're you.
Oh.
Uniquely you.
Got into a research study about people who are deathly afraid of snakes. I'm excited.
You're deathly afraid of snakes? I thought you were deathly afraid of spiders.
And snakes.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna pay me to talk about it.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
How did you get into that?
I signed up for this website that like connects people with research studies that fit their various conditions. So yeah. And it's on WebEx, and they're gonna pay me, or not WebEx. It's on Zoom, and they're gonna pay me $40 for talking to them for 2.5 hours spread out over 10 days, which is not that bad. It's less than I earn at work, but it's still money.
How much did you say?
They're gonna pay me $40
For how much time?
2.5 hours.
Not bad.
Mhm.
Well, most things are gonna be less than you make it work, so.
Mhm.
Deathly afraid of everything, apparently. Yeah, pretty much.
I am afraid of lots of things.
Mhm.
You should totally sign up for this site, though.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh. I think Jarek left earlier. No, Jimmy. Jimmy left earlier.
Jimmy. Aw. I mean, it is like 11 o'clock for him, so I understand. Sad I miss Jimmy, though.
I don't know why I keep mixing up Jarek and Jimmy.
I
don't
like
understand.
always miss Stray, though, because I never see Stray.
Stray's usually here, just in the background, lurking.
Little lurker.
Yes.
We appreciate you even when you're lurking, Stray.
There we go. I did it. I've posted this thing. Okay. Success. Sorry, closer to max stream than there will ever be a Stray stream. Also, I sleep in the day mostly. Yeah.
Ah, that's right. That makes sense. I feel like Nico has told me this before.
Yes.
Napping or lurking. Okay, that's fair. Sometimes I leave streamers on in the background while I, like, take a nap or do something else just to, like, you know, have some ambiance.
Farting Glitter always likes to go live at the same time as me, and it's very disrespectful.
Is she live right now?
Yeah, she went live at 3 o'clock, so.
Lol.
Same time I went live. Actually, it was like 2:55.
But then she'll also go live at, like, 8 p.m. after she went live at 3 p.m. She has no schedule.
No, she doesn't. I mean, she is in the process of moving, so.
That's not an excuse for having no schedule.
It is an excuse. It's a very good excuse, actually, but. I really need to pee. I think I'm gonna go pee, and then we'll come back and finish this video. Or maybe not finish the whole thing, but watch it till I'm tired. Because it's exhausting. This person thinks that Hannah Gatsby isn't funny.
She's not for everyone.
Well, yeah, she's not for fucking right-wing assholes, obviously, but she's still funny. I very much enjoy her humor and comedy. I wish she'd put out a new special, but, you know, this has been like 6 years, but...
I hate that we can't see like to dislike ratio on things anymore.
Right.
Because I want to know how many dislikes this video has.
Yeah.
I don't know who Thomas Sowell is, but I bet he's a Nazi.
Probably. Let's find out. Search the web.
The word race hustlers?
Oh, it's a black guy.
What? What? Why would he say the word? Well, it was like the olden days.
Yeah,
Race
this is an old
hustlers
quote.
Isn't gross in the olden days.
Yeah.
I just read Race Hustlers, and I'm like, if someone said this in 2022,
He was born in 1930, so it was back in the day.
Is he an is or a was?
He is.
Okay.
Is. Okay. He's old. Damn. Man's almost up there. He's
I don't
almost...
know why, instead of asking if someone's alive, my first thought is to ask, is he an is or a was?
Is he current or past tense? Interesting.
What a selection that was.
Yeah.
I searched authors. It's like, That's presidents.
Funny,
Einstein.
scary animal encounters. Interesting. Very expensive fails. Ooh, that could be fun. Feminists versus SJWs. Feminists and SJWs versus video games.
Oh,
Is that
you're
like...
doing this on the VOD channel. Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to fuck up my algorithm. So
I was like, you're genuinely trashing your algorithm right
no,
now.
I purposefully have the VOD channel so that I can fuck up my algorithm and not actually fuck up the algorithm.
Smart.
Yes. I searched this channel on my regular account on my phone last night, and I was like, it's a bad idea. So I switched over to the other account, and I put it on that one.
Good. I don't want to see Nazi videos popping up when I'm trying to, like, look for stuff to put on the watch later for us.
I mean, Nazi videos can be fun sometimes.
But I don't want to watch Nazi videos.
That's fair. Also, I pay for premium, so they don't get they don't get any ad money from me.
That's fair. See, honestly, I would not want to pay for premium because I want my creators to get ad money from me.
See, I like the download feature. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much use for the download feature, honestly. My parents pay for unlimited data, so I might as well just stream.
See, we have unlimited data. We get 2 gigabytes of unlimited high-speed data. And we just have unlimited data. We don't have unlimited high-speed data.
Mm-hmm.
And once the high-speed data runs out, you might as well just not have Wi-Fi at all or any internet connection because it's so slow.
Switch to AT&T. John Oliver's ex-business daddy.
Not business daddy. I don't want business daddy. Terrible. None of the phone companies are good is the problem. They're all ass. Because they all have a monopoly in at least some part of the states, so.
Mm-hmm.
God, I have to pee. Okay, I'm gonna pee. I'll be right back. Right. Okay, I'm back. We're gonna finish this up real quick because I'm tired.
And it's probably largely perpetuated by people who have never seriously studied a second language before. The worst thing for a non-native speaker of English is to have things like all the signs written in 3 different perpetual primary language of the country you live in. This philosophy that Channel 4 and leftists promote is absolutely cancerous to the people they are claiming to help, and it's probably largely perpetuated by people who have never seriously studied a second language.
But here's the thing. Forcing people to discard their old language, the language of their prior country, erases their culture. Because language is a big part of culture. And forcing them to not speak that language in their new country is erasing their culture. It's erasing who they are as people. And it's wrong. Plus, America, we don't have a national language. Right? Pretty sure. We have a main language, a language that the majority of people here speak. But the second most common language in this country is Spanish. Because most of this country used to be Mexico.
Before. The worst thing for a non-native speaker of English is to have things like all the signs written in 3 different languages so that they aren't forced to learn the language. If you know anything about...
So they aren't forced to learn... No, it's so they don't have to. Do you know how hard it is to learn a language?
Language acquisition.
Sir, do you speak any languages other than English? Our national language is the dollar. You're not wrong.
Then you know that if you really want to learn, you need to put yourself in an environment where you have no other options but to learn the language. Otherwise, you'll revert back to your native language at every opportunity, and you'll learn nothing. If anything is preventing people who don't speak English natively from succeeding, it's the radical leftist ideology that keeps giving these people a cop-out.
Why do they keep calling it the radical left? It's just the left. There is no radical left. Do you know what would happen to the conservatives of America if they went to Canada? Their brains would implode because in Canada, any form of right for America is the alt-right up there. My honest flute in German and doesn't live in Germany. Exactly. You can learn a language without fully submerging yourself into the culture. It's just easier to do it when you fully submerge yourself into the culture.
So that they don't have to learn the language.
Okay, get back to the fucking video.
You can find language resources.
If you've never had to be worried about your family being stopped and searched, take a step forward.
I don't get worried about if people ask me to stop and search.
Who isn't nervous around the police? The police have been trained by the government to do tons of illegal stuff and trick you into giving up your rights.
Yeah, what does that mean you revert back? Yeah.
Back in 2012, 2013, 2014, there was a very legitimate movement for police reform. This movement not only pointed out all the illegal and immoral stuff that cops do, but it was also teaching people how to interact with cops so that cops can't step all over your rights and so that you remain safe.
They step all over your rights even if you act correctly, so...
During a police encounter, it can certainly trick you into also set from doing advice police encounter reform and one's
I don't care what you have to say. Get back to the video.
Fair to start a race. Is this a fair starting point for us all? No.
I want you to pay close attention here because I just talked about techniques to convince people on my last video. Can you see how effective this exercise was at convincing the kids that everything is unfair? Playing games.
Because everything is unfair. Life is unfair. What? Have your parents ever told you, like you said, well, this isn't fair, and your parents said, well, life is unfair? Hey, Max. Come here. Max might be peeing, I don't know. I can tell you mine have. Life is unfair. It shouldn't be, but it is. And there are ways we can deal with some of that unfairness. And that it would be by teaching people that the unfairness exists when they're early in life.
What's up?
Have you ever told your parents that something wasn't fair and they responded, life is unfair?
No.
Get the fuck out, you're not helpful. What do you mean, no? What do you mean, no?
They just wouldn't say that.
Why?
Because that's not... They would say something biblical instead.
That's true. That's almost worse, huh? Well, Jesus died on the cross and that wasn't fair.
probably more along those lines, yeah.
Your shitty parents aren't the right kind of shitty for what I need,
Jesus
okay?
died on the cross for your sins, and you're complaining about this.
Yeah, which is basically the same thing. It's get over yourself. It could be worse. So.
Yeah, so they would say something similar, but biblical, though.
Yeah. This guy is complaining because these kids have been taught that life is unfair. So what the video he's watching and talking about is a video done by Channel 4 in the UK, where they have a line of kids of all different colors and whatever, and they're going to do a race, a running race. But before the race starts, they're going to be asked questions, and based on their answers to those questions, they get to take a step forward or take a step back. And they've asked questions like, is your parents' first language English? Is that the language that they speak? Are you afraid of being stopped by the police or being searched? Is that a thing your family is afraid of? You know, things like that. And also more like broad questions like, have you ever been in a room where you were the only person in that room of your race? Things like that. And at the end, the people of color were towards the back and the people who were white were towards the front, and they asked, is this fair? And the kid said, absolutely the fuck not. And this guy is saying, well, you just taught them it's not fair, because life isn't fucking fair.
No, it's not.
That's the point of the exercise. The exercise was successful in teaching them that racism is real and not fair. The only way to get rid of racism is to teach our younger generations that it's wrong and needs to be fixed. Not that there's not a problem, because there is a problem. How do people not understand this? How are you supposed to fix problems if you don't point out the fact that there's a problem there? The first step in AA is to understand that you have a problem. That's how addictions work. You have to accept that you have an issue first before you can fix it. And what we're doing is trying to push race back into a box that it was never in the first place. Race has always been a thing. Racism has always been a thing. He said earlier that they're like trying to bring racism back into the culture. Racism never left the culture, motherfucker. Racism is the culture. It's in... The more John Oliver we watch, the more we realize just how entrenched race is into every single aspect of our lives. I never knew how big of a play race had in the housing market until we watched that John Oliver video. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It is everywhere we go. And it is important that we teach our kids that it is bad and it is wrong. And we teach our white kids that it's something they can fix. And we teach our black kids that it's not their fault that it's this way. And we teach our white kids it's not their fault this way. Because it's not the kids' fault that our world's ass. It's everyone before us that we have to blame for that. But it's up to us to teach younger generations that there are problems that need fixing so that they know the problems are there, that they can do something about. You got to start young. Otherwise, nothing gets fixed. Because once you get stuck in your ways, it's really hard to get out. Life isn't fair. Exactly. That's why we need to change things. Yes. Can I be racist to the white people? I wish to oppress my own kind. I am. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm also heterophobic as a hetero person myself. So... I am phobic against cis, straight, white men. And I fall into most of those categories. So, you know... this exercise that these people have done is really great. But also, they did it in the UK, and he keeps using American examples, and I think that's funny. He tried to bring up Japanese internment camps, and I was like, how is this relevant? I don't understand. You're disproving your point by bringing up the Japanese internment camps that we did as Americans.
Yeah.
And then you literally said that color isn't an issue. Then what the fuck were the Japanese internment camps that happened 80 years ago? What were those?
We love to forget about those.
They weren't that long ago. Segregation only ended a few years ago.
There are people still alive
who were
forced
there
into those camps.
Yes. And there are countless people still alive who were alive in a time where whites had to drink out of different fucking fountains than black people. There are people still alive. Tons of them. Thousands of them that are still alive. That were alive during that age. Because it was like 50 fucking years ago. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't even a lifetime ago. And we're acting like it was 100 years ago. They always want to bring up slavery. When they should, actually. They should bring up slavery because that's where it all stems from. That's where the problem started. Because in slavery, like I said this earlier, in slavery, in the times of slavery, black people were seen as less than. And then we got rid of slavery, but black people were still seen as less than. Because that's how it had been For so long, black people are less than. Black people are less than. Black people aren't people. They're things to buy and sell. And that didn't really go away when we made slavery illegal. All the people who wanted slaves still believe black people should be bought and sold. And that belief made its way into our governmental system and has shaped every single fucking thing that has happened since then. And he wants to talk about Japanese internment camps, and then he said that Japanese people don't face discrimination based on their color anymore, which simply isn't true. But also, I would imagine Japanese people tend to face less racism than black people, because most of our systemic racism is geared to hurt black people. It still affects all the other people of color, but not to the degree it affects black people. If we want to look at an example, I would look at the percentage of people shot and killed by cops. You don't see other people of color being shot by police nearly as often as black people are.
There are also fewer of them.
Yes, exactly. But proportionally. Black people are proportionately killed by police officers way more often than anybody else. Any other demographic. Followed by white people, followed by everybody else. I don't know what to tell ya. But racism's everywhere. And it's ass. I was watching Neme last night. This isn't really relevant, just that Neme is a black person, but and she was trying to get a wig to work. She was trying to put a wig on and trying to get it shaped and everything correctly, and it was really giving her a hard time. And it just reminded me how I wouldn't have survived as a black woman if I had been born black. I wouldn't have made it this far, because the hair alone would drive me nuts. I don't have the patience, Max. I don't have the patience. Growing up, what I did with my hair is I woke up, I brushed it, and I went to school. That don't work if you got black hair. You can't do that.
That don't work for a lot of white people either.
No, it doesn't. So I was
special.
I was very special. I had a lot of hair, so it was very straight hair, so it made it very easier to just brush and go. And you can't do that shit with black hair. It don't work. It doesn't end well. I would have been that black girl growing up with bald, shaved head. We're gonna cut this shit every week or so, because I am putting up with it. That's too much work. I don't have the wherewithal. I barely have the energy to do this hair, so...
And you don't do that hair.
Exactly. My point. The kind of racism you get towards Asians is usually expecting them to be nerds, but towards black people, it's their thugs. Yeah, pretty much. The stereotypes are far more negative towards black people than it is towards other people of color. And I wish the stereotype of white people were that we suck, because it's true. As a group, we suck. There was this one guy that we watched, sort of watched, before we got to this person, and what was his name? I don't remember, but he's annoying. And he's a very punchable face as well, but white, obviously. And he had a video called "Who Should We Ban Next?" And in the thumbnail, he had a picture of Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Rand Paul. And I was like, I mean, you've answered your question in the thumbnail. I don't know why you're going around asking people these questions when you've already answered it in the thumbnail. You picked at least 2 of the worst people on the planet at the moment, so in America anyways. Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, if they vanished off the face of the earth, everything would get exponentially better in like a couple months. And you can't tell me that I'm wrong. Because Tucker Carlson is the face of white supremacists. So, and Marjorie Taylor Greene ain't much better, so. I don't know what Rand Paul did to end up in that list, but he's not great either, but I don't know that he's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson levels of bad, so.
I don't know.
I don't like him. He is the other Kentucky senator, so not a fan, but if Mitch McConnell were up there, I could understand a bit better, but I don't know what Rand Paul did. I don't know enough about him to despise him as much as I despise the other 2, but it doesn't seem like a fair... It would have made... If he wanted to make it, like, more centralized, he could have put AOC up there to sort of have a variable of who's on the board, but of who we should ban next, but, like, because he is very much for Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene being in government, so, and in the space, so if he wanted to, like, mix it up and make people think he's not completely leaning one direction, then... Maybe slap an AOC on there or something. I don't know. But, just an idea.
An Ilhan Omar.
Yeah. Imagine.
Imagine putting a hijabi woman's face
in your thumbnail? No. I could never do that. We might be promoting that kind of drag to kids. We watched him. Yeah. Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Yes. Yes, Max. Huh? Apparently, Disney put out a thing during Pride Month about drag queens on Disney Plus.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know this until I watched this asshole's video about it, and he was complaining about how it was being shoved down people's throats. Like, I am the person whose throat I want it shoved down, and I didn't know it was a thing. I am the type of person who would seek out this type of content, and I didn't know it was a thing. So how is it being shoved down people's throats? Explain?
My throat was open and it wasn't shoved.
Yeah, so explain. I would have swallowed willingly, and it just wasn't there. It wasn't even in the room. Like, and apparently the radical left wants kids to do drag.
No.
If they want to, I guess. Like,
we never asked for that.
we do want them to use our pronouns, though, and that's a little bit too far, if you ask me.
That is kind of far.
It's asking a lot.
It's kind of a lot.
Like, how dare you refer to me in any way?
It's a big, tall ask.
It's a big ask, I know. What were you doing? Were you peeing?
Yeah. So I'm still holding the towel because I washed my hands.
I knew it based on the level of echo when you shouted back, because the bathroom echoes like nobody's business, so...
the door was also closed.
Exactly. The muffled echo. Our bedroom echoes too, but that's only because we took out the giant goddamn headboard. Mm-hmm. I will never get over how big the bedroom looks now. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's genuinely insane. Mm-hmm. When are we going to rent the truck to move all the shit to the trash?
I don't know. This weekend?
Because we got that.
Do you want to do it this weekend? I feel like the sooner we do it, the more likely we are to actually do it instead of just letting the trash sit in our house.
That's true.
Because I'd really.
We could also make like a exercise out of it, and we could gradually take one by one piece down to the trash as like a workout in the 90-degree weather during the heat advisory. Not this. This can stay here. I ain't carrying that shit.
Do you really want to carry the footboard down to the trash?
I'd take the footboard over the headboard. The footboard we might be able to load into our little cart.
I don't think so. I think the cart will break.
We could put it on the dolly.
That's true. We could put some of it on the dolly.
And just roll the dolly down
there. But almost none of it. Let's just get the truck. It's so much bother.
It is a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
I told you for my birthday, all I wanted you to do was remove the furniture so you could pay for the truck.
No, you said you wanted that out of the bedroom. And it is out of the bedroom.
I said I wanted it out of the house.
No, you said you wanted it out of the bedroom.
Pretty sure I said house.
No, you said you want that gone, and it is now gone from where it used to be.
It's not gone from the house.
But you don't have to look at it anymore. So for your perspective, it is gone.
You're the worst. I said the rest of the furniture too.
Did you?
Yeah, I said the bed after I bought a new bed frame.
Oh, and then you didn't buy a bed frame for 2 months. Huh?
But then I bought the bed frame.
2 months later. Yes, it's too late. It's way past your birthday.
I still had a birthday.
Yes, 2 months ago.
If I'd known there was a deadline, I would have gotten one.
We do like each other, I promise.
Yes, we do. Sort
of. Most of the time.
Sometimes.
Occasionally.
A little bit.
Oh, he's a Trump fucker? I mean, I'm not surprised. He's a Republican, but he's a Kentucky Republican. But that's not enough to warrant being up next. Being a Trumper isn't enough to put you next to Marjorie Taylor Greene and fucking Tucker Carlson. So, personally, in my opinion, just,
Is
supported.
that Stray's Discord name?
Yes.
Ah, cool.
This is all of Stray's names.
Love that.
Just on Discord.
I love that for
These
you,
are the
Stray.
Discord only names. This isn't including like Tumblr or Twitter or any of the other places.
Nice.
I like the live, laugh, lower your expectations.
Excellent. I approve.
That is the American motto at the moment. So poor Max living with a boy, honestly.
I know I hate it, and it wasn't what I wanted to do.
But it was. You signed the lease again, so.
I know I did.
It wasn't your fault the first time around, but the second time around, it was fully on you.
You were just already there, and it would have been a lot more effort to not live with you.
And you're also planning to move states with me, so.
It just seems like a lot more effort to not take you with me. You know?
You'd have to like make new friends.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting. Why would I do that? That sounds like that's just a lot of work.
It does sound like a lot of work, actually.
Friends?
Disgusting.
Why?
Terrible.
Gross.
I don't know why I recorded this stream. I'm not going to upload it to my... I mean, I could put it on the VOD channel.
You could.
It's not like I've been properly watching these. Like, it's not like they've just been playing, so... I'm giving more commentary than Charlie does on his videos, so, like... I've seen posts of Moist Critical Charlie.
No, I know who that is.
Yeah, posting, like, people will post clips from his streams of him watching videos, and he might pause it every 3 to 5 minutes to say something. I'm 11 minutes into this video, and it's been a good hour, so
Love that.
there's just a lot to say, Max.
You're very talkative.
Yes. It's the ADHD. I'm hungry. What are we gonna eat?
Well,
I didn't eat breakfast,
leftovers
so.
for lunch.
Oh, you fucking bitch.
Because my workplace buys me lunch.
For free.
Uh-huh.
Corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
It's the nice thing about a desk job.
But the bad thing is you have to sit at a desk.
But I only have to sit at that desk once a week to qualify for that free lunch.
At that desk. You have to sit at your desk every other day of the week.
Yes, but that doesn't qualify for free lunch.
No.
If I sit in the cold-ass 60-degree office once a week, then I get free lunch. So
And you
I
also
think
get paid
that's-
to be there, so.
I do get paid to be there. But sitting in the cold is pretty torturous.
It's still rude of you, though.
Is it
Like,
rude?
you can't bring me home leftovers?
No.
But, like, what if they gave you free lunch and you just didn't eat that lunch, and instead you brought home the lunch, and
I
then
have
we
to
shared
eat
it?
something.
I mean, you could take a Cliff Bar.
I have done that before, and it is a miserable experience.
So it wouldn't be the first time.
To have breakfast and a single Cliff Bar for my entire 8-hour
All I've
workday.
had so far today is a cup of milk, so...
That's your decision.
Yeah, because breakfast has not been appealing to me lately, so... I'm also out of sandwiches, so...
Mm.
And the strudels just... I don't know. I look at the strudels and my brain goes, no, don't do that. And I look at the toast and my brain goes, eh. And I look at the eggs in the fridge and they go, you don't want to spend time cooking that. And then it's right. I don't want to spend time cooking that, so... We just kind of end up with nothing. God, ADHD's the worst. Oh, I watched a video earlier about him talking about how puberty blockers make you infertile.
Mm. How was that?
Beats me. He showed the side effects and none of them were infertility, so...
Interesting.
Yeah. Because there was this... one of those ones where it's like, oh, my trans life, you know, oh, we don't have any mac and cheese left. We ate the last of it.
Mac and cheese.
And I don't trust those bowls you bought, because last time I cooked the bowl, it was ass.
Yeah, but I think that's your fault.
No, it's not my fault. I'm perfect, okay? It's not my fault.
They're just generic mac and cheese cups.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was user error.
How? I cooked it correctly based on the instructions it gave
Did you
me.
put in too much water?
No.
Even
I put
a
in the
little bit too
exact
much?
amount of water. Water.
Sometimes you have to put in a little less than the exact amount.
And it doesn't tell me that, so it's not my fault. It is manufacturer error in that case scenario.
Okay.
I followed the instructions, Meg.
That's all I'm saying. You also have to put in the cheese powder immediately, and you didn't do that.
And?
The water gets absorbed by the pasta if you don't put it in immediately.
Yes, but that shouldn't make the pasta stick together.
It does make the pasta stick together. You guys stir it immediately.
Ugh, disgusting.
See, we're learning this is user error.
Why are you leaving?
I'm putting the towel away. I'm just standing here holding my towel.
Yes, and?
I also need to check on Spiff.
I'm sure he's fine. With his 2,000 viewers.
I need to know if I won the prediction.
I was in the middle of a story, though.
In doing thought experiments is one of the most effective ways to get people to listen to you. Albeit, in this case, it was incredibly deceptive because Channel 4 is essentially lying to these kids about how the world works.
No, they're not.
Because in the West, we live in one of the most racially tolerant times ever. But whether Channel 4 told a lie or not,
Just because we don't have slaves, it doesn't make us more racially tolerant. What the fuck does that even mean? Racially tolerant?
the technique was still effective.
Nakai, how do you feel standing there in the field of runners?
I kind of feel a bit alone.
Bit
I can't really see it. I'm literally just by myself, more or less. I'm just a bit frustrated and annoyed that society nowadays really isn't fair. And I
It
just
never
wish
has been,
everyone
kid.
could be equal.
I'm literally just by myself. He said it, not me. Yes, Makai, that's the point of the assignment. To divide everyone based on traits that can be easily identified like sex and skin color, so that you immediately know to hate someone the second you look at them, before you even speak. This is how divide and conquer strategies work, and it's why
No, they are teaching kids that racial discrimination is a thing. It's not that complicated. You're reading way too into this, my man.
The prediction ended too long ago, so I don't get to see who won.
Poor you. You'll live, I promise. Did you get more balls?
I don't know.
You didn't know what your balls were at before?
No.
And whose fault is that? Sounds like a user error. They're literally showing why it's bad. Exactly. They're showing why it's bad. They're not telling them that everything is awful. They're showing them why it is bad.
Race is one of the primary ways people are divided. People can easily tell what racial category you fall into just by looking at you.
Not really.
It's kind of frustrating that, like, me and Sarah are just standing at the back here while the majority of people who may be white are, like, standing right at the front. That just frustrates me a bit, because it's almost as in what society is today.
I love how confused the kids look.
I don't want this to be how it is, but it is, so it just gets a bit frustrating.
You're like 11. How do you know it's like that? You haven't seen the world yet, and most importantly,
They just did. The experiment was to show them what the world is like by asking them questions about their lives. Did he watch the video? Did he watch the video? Yes, like the actress that Googled select section, is she black? Yeah.
Before this assignment, you were getting along fine with all your friends.
And that
who
she
were
will
all different
after.
races. So where's your experience
What makes you think that they're not going to get along after?
with this reality? But because of how the adults in this video frame this activity, she now says, that white kid is ahead of me in the race, and that's unfair. Can you see how that...
No, she said the whiter kids are ahead of me. And that's unfair. Because they are, and it is. Amazing. We've learned a thing.
Might cause this little girl to hate white people when she grows up?
Why are white people so afraid of being hated? We deserve it. We as a group deserve to be hated. White people have done so much terrible shit to everybody else throughout all of history. I'm not going to be mad at a black person if they're mad at white people. They're not going to direct it at individuals. Like, the individuals they will direct it at are people who are taking their rights away, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example. Hello, Adam. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. But like, this black kid isn't going to go to one of the white kids and say, I hate you because you're white. It is no more of the fault of the white kid that they're white than the black kid that they're black. Like, like, it doesn't make any sense. Where am I from? What do you mean? I am in America. It's in the tags. USA. US of A, unfortunately. Sadly. And sadly, this is where I am.
Has a way of filtering things based on your prior experiences. So if some adult tells you when you're 11 that white people have an unfair advantage,
'cause they do,
then as you grow up, you're only going to notice places where white people have the upper hand. This kind of tunnel vision will make you very resentful. Now let me address the elephant in the room here. This is not
yeah, you have something I want, so I'm going to be into. That's a very white way of thinking.
Fair assignment because Channel 4 chose the questions, so everything is biased to make white people look like they have the advantage.
'Cause they
How about
do.
one of the questions being, step forward if you've ever been given a scholarship, a job opportunity, or been admitted into an educational program because of your race. How about...
Oh, I wonder why that's a thing that's needed. To give scholarships based on race. Maybe because it's hard for kids of color to get into fucking college. Or afford college. You know why? Because there's an economic discrimination between white people and people of color. So we have to make up for that. Because we can't fucking erase the economy and start over. We have to make up with that with specific scholarships for people of color. And keep in mind, those scholarships for people of color are more often than not set up by people of color for more people like them. White people are just mad that people of color are mad at them for, you know, all of the white things that have ever happened. Like, we know it's not, I know it's not my fault slavery is a thing. Is it likely that one of my past family members owned a slave? Possibly. I don't know where my ancestry ends up. I don't know how long my family has been in this country. It would not surprise me if we have actually been here that long. But I know slavery is not my fault. But I do know it's something that we still haven't fucking fixed. Also, slavery is still a thing. Have you seen prisons? It's still a thing.
Step forward if you're allowed to say things people of other races are not allowed to say. Or last...
Are you complaining about not being able to say the N-word right now? Is that... Are you complaining about not being able to say the N-word right now? Really? Are you really complaining about not being able to say the N-word right now? Max, he's complaining about not being able to say the N-word. I live in the south of the USA. I am stuck in Tennessee at the moment. I'm not stuck here. We'll be moving in a year, but still. I wish I was more shocked that he's complaining about not being able to use the N-word. Oh my god.
Step forward if your race has an entire month dedicated to it.
It does! Every month of the fucking year! Every month of the fucking year is White History Month. Every single month of the fucking year is White History Month. What are you talking about? Did this man go to school? You know, the main time we talked about Black history, specifically, Black History Month, wasn't very in-depth. It wasn't very well-rounded. I didn't learn about Juneteenth until it became a fucking holiday. But every other goddamn day of the goddamn fucking year, we learned about white fucking history. And how white people were affected by white fucking history. And about what the white people did to make America America. That's what we learned about. White people. We don't need a White History Month. I don't fucking want a White History Month. We don't need to celebrate white fucking history. Because most of it's ass. I've seen people recently telling streamers that honky is a slur. White people will be oppressed so bad. What the fuck is honky? Like honky tonk? Like redneck? What the fuck is honky? White people want to be oppressed so bad. Yeah, there aren't white slurs. I'm sorry. You can call me a cracker all you want. That's absolutely fine. Look at me. No slur you use against me for me being white is going to affect my standing as a white person. So calling me whatever white slur you want is not going to fucking affect me. Hell, you can call me a tranny if you want to. I don't fucking care. Because I am a tranny. That's what I am. Like, the word personally doesn't affect me. It affects other people who are trans, but it doesn't affect me. Like, that's the difference between white slurs and slurs for people of color, is that those white slurs have never been used to oppress white people. White people aren't oppressed.
I can put the white kids at the back of the line just by changing the prompts, which makes this assignment completely guided by bias.
Except that none of these kids have ever received a scholarship. So that's not even one that's relevant to these kids, but whatever.
The kids weren't given a game where they can discover their own answers. They were instead given a game where, unless you have a lot of life experience...
Well, because they were asked about important things. They weren't asked, are you allowed to say the N-word? Because that's not important. And no, white people are not allowed to say the fucking N-word. Because we got to say it for a very long time, and it caused a lot of fucking harm. And now black people have taken it back, and now they get to use it. And only they get to use it. And if you are so upset that you don't get to say one fucking word in the goddamn English language, then you have so much privilege that it's beyond belief. If your concern is that you can't say the N-word, you need to check your fucking privilege. Because, wow. That's what you're concerned about. Is there's one word you're not allowed to fucking say? Really? You don't have more important things to be concerned about? Wow.
And can offer a contrary opinion, the only conclusion to this assignment is that white people have an unfair advantage everywhere.
Because we do.
Henry, how are you feeling being right at the very front?
It feels quite weird because if you think about it, I think all of us should be at the same point, but sadly the questions, the ways that they were put didn't favour some people, which I think is quite unfair.
So now we have a group of kids who are resentful, and a young white kid...
He didn't say he was resentful. He said he thinks it's unfair that he gets to be farther forward than his friends. Where in there did he say... What?
Been made responsible
the soulless one has common sense.
And now feels guilty for something he didn't do. Perfect. That's
he doesn't
exactly
feel guilty.
He
said he feels weird.
Because it keeps us from uniting against the real powers who are screwing us over. The establishment has found
white
to
people.
Have us argue over arbitrary
the white people. Yeah, you're almost there.
With the radical left who are resentful, and a young white kid who has been made responsible for the inequality and now feels guilty.
He wasn't made responsible for the inequality. Where in the video did the teachers tell him he's responsible for the inequality? Just because you have privilege doesn't make you the reason other people don't have privilege. What? That makes no fucking sense. Why people want to be oppressed so bad.
For something he didn't do. Perfect. That's exactly what the radical left and the establishment want. Because it keeps us from uniting against the real powers who are screwing us over.
White people.
The establishment has found
Old
a way
white
to have
people.
us argue over arbitrary nonsense like race, which is something that we have
It's not
no
arbitrary
control over.
nonsense.
People shouldn't be made to feel inferior or guilty because of the situation they were born into, but that's exactly what this Channel 4 assignment did.
Because that's how it
Ultimately,
is.
To fight this divide and conquer strategy, we have to work things in reverse. The strategy of the establishment is to convince us to find reasons to hate each other, which is very antisocial behavior. To counteract that, we need to find reasons to get along. That's why this practice of finding common ground in debate is so
Yeah,
important.
and the common ground we have found here is that the way the world works fucks our friends over or fucks us over. We can come together to fix that problem. That white kid understood that this was unfair just as much as the black kid did. Now they can both work together to fix the fucking problem. How is this dividing them? It is showing them the world is unfair. And no one is telling them it is their fault it's unfair. Where I'm sure if she had said that in the video, he would have put a clip of it in. But none of the teachers said, it's your fault it's this way. It's very telling that he keeps putting words into the mouths of these people.
Important. If debate is just about what we don't like about each other, then all it will do is make the problem worse. Which means every single time
If debate is about what we don't like about each other? What?
you have an argument with someone, you need to be actively looking for places where you agree, even if you don't fully agree on the main topic. Now it's fine to point out
And they agree it's unfair.
negatives when things are going wrong, but if all you do is look for negativity, then you're going to find yourself destroying your personal relationships, and you'll end up very socially isolated. You need to make an effort
Yeah.
to find positive
They never
things
said they
about
don't like each
people.
other anymore.
I try to do that in every video. Believe it or not, I even did it in this one. I don't like... Now, it's fine to point out the negatives when things are going wrong, but if all you do is look up very socially isolated, you need to make an effort to find positive things about people. I try to do
No, you didn't. No, you did not. No, you did not.
that in every video. Believe it or not, I even did
He's
it in
projecting
this
very
one.
hard.
I don't like what Channel 4 did, but I did give them points for very effectively convincing the children of their viewpoint. That tiny bit of nuance is important.
I did that in this video by showing how good they were at being bad. Like, from my perspective. Like, what do you mean? No.
It's not going to change my opinion on the moral character of Channel 4, but this practice of finding people's positive traits is important because there are a ton of people in real life who fall into a gray area who you may be dismissing because you have only looked at the characteristics they have that offend you. If that doesn't describe the current...
I'm sorry, but Tucker Carlson's entire being, including his face, offends me. I'm not going to look for the positives of Tucker Carlson, because to be fair, the only good thing he has is that he's a great speaker and is good at convincing people of things. But he doesn't use that ability for good. He uses it to spread misinformation and racist hatred. Not just racist hatred, but all kinds of hatred. No.
political divide, then I don't know what does. How many people have dissolved friendships or ostracized family members, completely forgetting all the good things those people have done, simply because they voted for the wrong political candidate? Don't be like that.
Yeah.
Look for the good in people, even in those you hate. But with that said,
I will not. Thank you. I don't believe you. No one asks 5th graders who they're voting for. Ooh, ranking every Sol trap? Absolutely. Big guy versus my Glock. LMAO. Well, that's enough for today, isn't it? That was a ride, wasn't it? People really will just bend things to the way they want it to be. Like, and I know I'm sure I do it to a degree, but I do my best to stay on the facts and stay on the things I've learned and been taught over the years. And listen to voices that aren't my own, who actually know what they're talking about. So ideally, voices of color, about their experiences. Now, not every black person on the planet or in the US is going to experience racism every day of their lives. But some of them are. And that's a problem. That's something that needs to be fixed. So just because one black person had a good time growing up, and wasn't stopped by the cops every time they drove their car, or wasn't beat up by white people because they were black, or wasn't called the N-word every day, doesn't mean that that's not a problem anymore. It doesn't mean that that doesn't happen anymore. And I'm so tired of white people trying to pretend that because people of color or other marginalized groups want rights, that it's gonna hurt us somehow. Black people having the same rights as me does not affect the rights I already have. It just means they also get those rights. And the white people who think that black people having the same rights as us is a problem are the people that you need to look out for. Because to the privileged, equality looks like, what is it? Discrimination? Oppression? And it's so fucked up. And I'm so tired. So tired. 1 star. Regret watching. Submit. Alright. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow, editing Stranger Things Season 4. We'll finish Volume 1 tomorrow. Or finish the second pass of Volume 1 tomorrow. I'm gonna go find something to eat. And goodbye. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate you. Thank you for the new follow from Adam. And yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.